Life Choices is brought to you by Central Benefits, an innovator in the hospital health insurance industry for more than 50 years, and by Riverside Methodist Hospitals. Life Choices with Erie Chapman, America's weekly health show. Wherever you live, you need to make good life choices. And here's your host, Erie Chapman.
Hello. The wonder of bringing a new life into this world. It can be so magical, but it can also be frightening. There are so many plans to make, choosing a doctor, putting the nursery together, and learning the art of parenting. So you think you're finally ready, and then Mother Nature throws in a little surprise. Triplets, 3 babies. Now what? First, meet Karen, Annie, and Tom, a charming set of 3-year-old triplets. Their parents will tell you what it's like to raise 3 kids at the same time. Then there's Kathy and Mike, who were expecting their triplets while we tape this show. The birth of triplets is risky. Will all 3 babies make it? Join us as we wait with the Reeses, and follow us as we take you right into the delivery room with a total of 9 doctors and nurses. That's all in today's exciting feature presentation. But before we start seeing triple, here's the one and only Kathy Starling with today's health news. Kathy?
Thanks, Erie. Federal officials fear we'll have the worst measles outbreak of the 1980s in the next couple of months. Doctors at the Center for Disease Control want children to have 2 measles shots, one at 15 months and another around age 12. Pediatrician Dr. Gregory Barrett says a lot of older children, junior high and high school age, are at risk.
Well, this is something of a surprise to us. In the past, it was felt that the MMR given at 15 months would be protective for a lifetime. There are a number of factors for it. I think the most concerning one is the possibility that immunity to measles acquired from the shot is weaning with time, so that as children get older, as they get into high school and college, their protection against measles is no longer valid.
Old-fashioned 3-day measles are the type doctors are concerned about. 3 to 4 days before a rash appears, there is a cough, runny nose, red eyes, and rising fever. The rash usually breaks out in the face and works down the body. People are contagious 3 to 4 days before the rash and until it disappears. The best advice? Force fluids and take aspirin-free products to reduce fever. A new strain of flu has found its way into the United States. It's called B. Yamagata, and it was isolated in Japan. It has already hit Australia and New Zealand. Peak flu season is December through March, so it's not too early to get a vaccination. Children and adults with heart, kidney, lung disease, or other chronic illnesses should get flu shots, and anyone over age 65. It takes about 30 days for the vaccine to become effective, so if you're in a high-risk group, it's time to get your shot. Since we're heading into the cold and flu season, many of you will gargle to help your sore throat. Well, new research shows gargling doesn't do much good, and in some cases may make matters worse. UCLA professor Robert Fetter says when you gargle, the fluid doesn't even reach the vocal cords, so gargling just irritates the throat. Instead, drink plenty of lukewarm water to keep your throat moist. Speak in normal tones. Whispering strains vocal cords. Don't clear your throat. It only inflames the throat tissues. And use throat lozenges. They won't cure a sore throat, but they will make it feel better. We've all suspected it for years, but now it seems our fears are confirmed. Skin cancer is rising faster than anyone expected. A recent report in the Journal of the American Medical Association shows the number of cancer cases increased nearly 4 times between 1960 and 1986. Exposure to ultraviolet radiation from the sun is the big reason for the rise in skin cancer. Does your job drive you nuts? If you feel stressed out at work, you're not alone. A new Gallup study indicates that work is making a lot of us mentally ill. Almost 3/4 of the people surveyed said stress is a big part of the job, and employees who suffer stress on the job suffer at home too, because they end up taking 16 sick days a year due to depression, anxiety, and stress. And interestingly enough, stress isn't always caused by working too much. It can be caused by working too little or being bored on the job. Employers can help by creating a pleasant working environment. And that's what we have here at Life Choices. Erie, back to you.
Thank you, Kathy. Not only your job at work, but your job at home as a parent can be pretty stressful. Imagine the anticipation waiting for your first child to be born. Now multiply that emotion times 3, and you have Kathy and Mike Reese, first-time parents who are expecting triplets.
Waiting, wondering, monitoring. At 32 weeks into her pregnancy, Kathy Reese is doing everything she can to ensure she will deliver 3 healthy babies.
My pregnancy's gone really normal, which is good, you know, and it helps every time you go to the doctor and you get a clean bill of health, and really nothing else has been. Just the fact that, you know, getting to the end and keeping the babies inside of you is a big thing.
Kathy, in regards to the pregnancy, is just doing very, very well. Most triplets deliver in and around 33 weeks on average, and she right now is about 32 weeks, and all the indications we have so far is that she's likely to go beyond 33 weeks. The biggest complication, as we've spoken about, is preterm labor. She's done very well in regards to that. She shows no indication of getting close to preterm labor. We are doing some home uterine activity monitoring with a special nursing service and a special piece of apparatus which monitors her uterine activity.
Kathy and her husband Mike had been trying for a couple of years to have a baby. They consulted a fertility specialist who, after trying several approaches, finally suggested a drug to help increase their chances. Multiple births are not considered an ideal outcome, but it does happen.
Until it happens to you, it's really tough for anybody, infertility specialist or doctor, to really, at least for me it was, convey the importance of this and what is really going to transpire. Because sometimes you listen to what they say and you shake your head, I understand, but the reality of it isn't there. Not until it really happens, and then you have to deal with it.
Honestly, I think every emotion that I had came into play. There was like no one emotion. Mike and I looked over at Mike, and Mike said absolutely nothing, which made it kind of hard. But and then all I could do after we went out in the car, and all I could do was cry.
Kathy and Mike take one day at a time, and although they have to get ready to bring 3 babies home, they don't get much past that.
It's hard for me to even think past the delivery, because I just want to get to that point. You know, a lot of people talk to me about what it's going to be like afterwards and caring for 3 children at one time. It's hard for me to even think about that. I've had a lot of support, which is real helpful. I've got a lot of family and friends, and my husband, of course, has been real supportive, and that helps me get through it. But I just take one day at a time.
There's a head. There's a second head. Let's see if we can find the third head. There's a third head up there. So 1 head, 2 heads, 3 heads. Still got triplets.
Every week, her obstetrician monitors the growth of the babies and makes sure there is enough amniotic fluid.
Even to this day, I mean, I know that there's 3 ultrasound pictures of 3 different babies, but it's still like it's really happening to somebody else.
What does it feel like when you're lying there on the table looking at the ultrasounds and seeing all these things moving inside your child? Is it?
That's real exciting. It's kind of hard to believe that there's 3 babies inside of you, but it's real exciting.
There were years of frustration trying to conceive, then the shock of being told there are triplets. Emotions run high, but the choice would have been the same.
We really wanted to have children, and I think that was a chance that I probably would have done anything, you know, to have them.
So what happened with the Reese triplets? We'll show you that a little bit later. But first, what happens after those little ones go home? A mother and father show us what it's like parenting triplets.
Our health insurance premiums. Another increase. You're my broker. Tell me how to get this under control.
There's a new product from Central Benefits that's really different. Your employees would be responsible for the smaller dollar routine health care, doctor's visits, prescriptions. Then your insurance would cover the big things like major surgery and hospital stays. Your people would be involved in paying for their health care, and you'll reduce your costs. It's more like what insurance started out to be.
I like the sound of this. This could really help my bottom line.
If you wonder what I'm reading here, it must be because you haven't yet gotten your copy of the Life Choices newsletter. You can get your copy by writing us at Life Choices. This is an important bit of health information that I'd like you to have. It's a monthly publication. It provides health facts and human interest stories that help you with your life choices. The newsletter highlights topics covered in the Life Choices television show, while also providing additional information on other health issues as well. You'll get useful health tips from medical experts and also share compelling stories about people's choices as they go through a particular medical situation. If you'd like to receive the Life Choices newsletter, contact us at P.O. Box 555, Columbus, Ohio 43216, or call toll-free 1-800-441-9559. In Columbus, call 261-LIFE. We'd be happy to add you to our mailing list.
The next time you have a hard time concentrating, try reaching for an apple or a bunch of grapes. You'll find out why when you watch Commit to Get Fit over this and other Columbus television stations.
It's just a part of the diet and exercise information from the Healthy Choices program, brought to you throughout the coming year by Kroger and Riverside Methodist Hospital.
It's designed to make it easy to improve the quality of your life. So commit to get fit.
Save on assorted Healthy Choices dinners, now $2.99.
Pat and Susan Dugan wanted a second child. What they didn't plan on was child number 2, 3, and 4 coming all at the same time.
It looks like just a big family, but look again. 3 of the 4 children at this table are all the same age, 3.5 years old. They're triplets. This wasn't something that was planned. It just happened.
We're sitting there and they've got the, I forget what they call the sonogram or whatever, and he's going over Susan's stomach to find out, and he goes, there's 1, and oh, there's 2, and oh, there's 3, and yeah, it was sort of like the shock hit you, and it does go through you very quickly. I mean, it was an absolute shock. I'm a lawyer with an accounting background, and so I had this nice, great financial plan of how things were going to be, and you know, this is the way it's going to work out. Well, we threw that one out the window.
While Pat had the real stress pre-delivery, taking care of Kathy, who was 4 years old then, and Susan, who was on bed rest from Christmas till her delivery in April, Susan got the burden of the first few months.
You know, you have crying babies constantly, and we would make up, I don't know if it was 36 or 40-some bottles of formula every other night. And then the baths took a long time, and the feeding probably lasted about 25 minutes for each child, and we still staggered them so that when we didn't have help, I wasn't left with 3 screaming babies.
Their first daughter, Kathy, was a real plus, not only because she taught Pat and Susan some things about parenting, but when the triplets arrived, she was her parents' biggest helper.
She's been such a help in terms of trying to help out with the kids and doing whatever she can. She's kind of like a second mom to them. I can remember when we were, when we just had the triplets, she was, and we were standing in the grocery line, and you know, I was out getting groceries and you know, stressed out and everything else. And she went to the cashier and says, we have triplets at home. You know, like this great thing, you know, and it really, that sort of thing really keeps your spirits alive.
And although you might think the terrible 2s were bad, Susan says the 3s are worse.
When they first turned 3, it just seemed like whenever I got on the phone, it was like, what can we get into? Let's get into the fridge, let's pour the milk, let's, you know, go run the water and put our heads in it and things like that. So the beginning of the 3s were really hard, and when I talked to Dr. Freno about it, I was really concerned because I felt like maybe I was not handling them as well.
Dr. Janet Freno has cared for 3 other sets of triplets in her 15-year career. She says triplets aren't handled any differently from other children, except that Mother really doesn't get a break.
It's easier to have a lot of children because the older ones will then start taking care of the younger ones. The problem with triplets is they're all the same age, so they're all doing the same things at the same time. And so it's harder with a set of children that are all the same age. There's no one to take care of them, except Mom.
If you start out with the notion that nothing's going to go right all the time, says Dr. Freno, you'll fare much better.
3 children is a lot to raise, or 4, or however many you might have. And you just can't get over serious, I don't think, about any one moment. You really have to, you know, relax and kind of laugh at the situation.
There are going to be times where you're yelling and screaming at the kids, and you're going nuts, and you know, even more than with one child. And you're going to get through it, and it gets there, and it does get better. If I were going to have children and plan it all out, I wouldn't have planned it this way. You know, it's a real challenge. But once we were faced with it and faced with that challenge of dealing with it, it's like anything. If you can overcome that and you do a good job of it, it's even a greater feeling.
I'd do it again. I wouldn't trade one of them for anything.
So, Kathy, when one child gets sick, do all three get sick?
They sure do. It's really not worth separating them, says Dr. Freno, because if it's something contagious, they really are going to pick it up. The neat thing about this whole story was a family motto that they have, and that basically is face the world with a smile and give it your best shot, which I thought was kind of neat, considering they have to face life with triplets and another daughter. So.
Sure. Getting sick at the same time is probably the least of their worries with the other stresses of having triplets.
It sure is.
Thanks for that story. That was really
Anytime. I enjoy doing it.
Good. When we come back, what you've been waiting for and what Kathy and Mike Reese have really been waiting for, the arrival of their children.
So cute.
You know, this 3-pound weight may be all you'll ever have to lift to put yourself in top shape. Learn why by watching Commit to Get Fit, brought to you by Kroger and Riverside Hospitals.
Over the coming year, we'll bring you a variety of helpful diet and exercise information from the Healthy Choices program. Easy to follow tips to help you feel the best you can.
These tips can really improve the quality of your life. All you have to do is commit to get fit.
Save on assorted varieties of Stouffer's Right Course entrees, just $2.49.
I think that any employer who wanted to hang on to his workforce right now and wanted women in that workforce would be paying attention to family issues.
What about sibling rivalry, discipline, daycare? The new Dr. Spock has some answers for you on the next Life Choices.
And if a child grows up feeling like everything you do matters, you know that kid's going to be a success.
As many as 1 in 6 couples experiences infertility problems.
A continuing public service from the staff of Central Ohio's leading medical center, the Riverside Women's Health Update.
Infertility is defined as the inability to achieve pregnancy after 1 year of trying. Remarkable new advances in the diagnosis and treatment of infertility, including those available at Riverside, have led to new hope for the majority of couples suffering from this disease. Infertility therapy has been revolutionized with the application of the in vitro fertilization and gift techniques. These techniques can easily be performed on an outpatient basis. In some cases, surgery offers a cure, and with state-of-the-art lasers, major operations can often be avoided. The good news is most infertility responds to simple medicines prescribed by your physician.
If you'd like more information, call the Elizabeth Blackwell Center at Riverside. A public service from Riverside.
As Mike Reese told me just minutes before he became a father for the first time, you're never really ready for this new role. Even though you've tried to prepare yourself by talking to family and friends, you just have to wait till it happens.
It's better to sit down on the floor than to fall down on the floor, because I don't want to have to sew your head up afterwards, okay?
Okay.
Why don't you hang loose here for a few minutes, and whenever we get things set up back there, we'll come and get you.
All right.
Okay? Yep. Did they give you a hat and all? Okay. See you in a few minutes.
For me, it's like I was saying before, the reality still hasn't quite sunk in yet. I mean, we're here and this is going on. It's like part of me is watching this happen because it's not really me involved.
And then it's showtime.
Get a smile, say cheese.
Kathy's sister Sue, a labor and delivery nurse, is on hand to offer support, not to mention the team of skilled doctors and nurses waiting to take the newborns and get them ready to meet Mom and Dad. 2 anxious parents-to-be listening for the cries of their children being brought into the world.
You're doing great.
to give you a shot. You go.
They're so cute. They are. They're so big. They look beautiful.
Then comes the task of identifying the 3 identical little girls. Mom can only peek, but Dad gets up and takes a long look at the new little girls in his life. Chelsea, Erica, and Carly. Next stop is the special care nursery, where nurses keep a close eye on them, and neonatologist Dr. Patrick Wall looks over them again. After making sure Mama's all right, Dad checks in on his girls.
It's amazing. You just don't know where to go, one to the other.
And after a few days of recuperation for Mom, Kathy, Mike, Chelsea, Erica, and Carly begin their journey home. You know, Kathy and Mike had so much anxiety before that delivery, as you might expect, and it's so great to see how well things turned out.
Did they make any plans? I mean, did they think about what would happen if the 3 of them weren't?
I think when I spoke to Mike right beforehand, his comment to me was, you know, we can't think about what if it doesn't work. We can only plan for the best part of things, and fortunately that's exactly how it turned out. You've spoken to them since then. How are they doing?
They're doing just great. I visit them a couple weeks after they went home, and everybody's doing fine, and they're adjusting well. Mike is busy working while the grandmas are there helping take care of the other 2.
That's great. Well, congratulations to Kathy and Mike, and our best wishes for their new family. When we come back, we'll get a kid's view on birth and babies, when some preschoolers with some very interesting ideas talk to you. Stay with us.
When does a baby become a person?
When it sleeps a lot.
The next time you have a hard time concentrating, try reaching for an apple or a bunch of grapes. You'll find out why when you watch Commit to Get Fit over this and other Columbus television stations. It's just a part of the diet and exercise information from the Healthy Choices program, brought to you throughout the coming year by Kroger and Riverside Methodist Hospital. It's designed to make it easy to improve the quality of your life. So commit to get fit.
Save on assorted Healthy Choices dinners, now $2.99.
I think that any employer who wanted to hang on to his workforce right now and wanted women in that workforce would be paying attention to family issues.
What's the best way to raise your kids? Find out from the experts on the next Life Choices.
Hi, this is Bob Keeshan, Captain Kangaroo. Join me this week on Life Choices. Please, I'll be there. You too,
More people trust Riverside to provide the best health care in Central Ohio. That means more people trust the doctors at Riverside with their family's medical needs. More people respect Riverside doctors for their expertise and their dedication to your health. When you're looking for a physician, it only makes sense to find your doctor where you find the best health care. So call Riverside's Physician Referral Service today, 261-5100. You can count on Riverside.
You know, last year at this time, I was struggling to keep the company above water. Yeah, it's not that we didn't do well. It was just the ridiculous cost of covering health care for our staff. My broker found out about a new product from Central Benefits. It isn't anything like our old medical plan. This program makes our employees responsible for paying for their own minor health care. And we pick up the big ticket items like surgeries and hospital stays. This new product saves me thousands of dollars every month. Now I've got time for more important things. It's made all the difference.
Recently, Life Choices went to a child care center where I had the opportunity to talk to some 3-, 4-, and 5-year-olds. Their ideas about birth and babies were unusual as well as entertaining. I know you're going to enjoy hearing them. So is your mom going to have a baby?
Yeah, it's real big.
Yeah? Your mommy's belly is real big?
She will take it out when it's her birthday.
When it's time for the baby to be born, then she'll take the baby, then the baby will come out?
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Huh?
You cut it and it will come out and Mommy will glue it right back on.
It'll glue it right back together?
Yeah.
She'll be glued right back together, so she'll be okay then? And then what will happen? Will you have a new sister or brother then?
No, an old one.
What?
An old one.
An old one? She'll be old when she's born?
Yeah.
How old will she be when she's born?
It's told you 15 years.
She'll be 15 years old when she's born. That is really something. Can you be 15 years old when you're born?
No.
No. How old are you when you're born?
What?
Well, I guess the baby idea was a little complex for some of the kids, but then Jonathan was able to simplify things. Are babies people?
No.
Yeah, so what are they? If they're not people, what are they?
They're babies.
When does a baby become a person?
When it sleeps a lot.
When it sleeps a lot?
And
Yeah.
eats.
Okay, so we finally got this baby thing figured out. But now, what about 3 babies? You know what triplets are? Anybody know what a triplet is?
I do.
What?
It's some kind of planet.
Well, whether they arrive as triplets or one at a time, children are a source of great joy. They also provide our most important challenge. The families you've met today were in the unique situation of juggling 3 kids at once, sometimes while dealing with other siblings as well. You've had a chance to see the choices they made and the opportunity to share some of their joy. On next week's Life Choices, we'll continue our focus on children with a look at raising kids. We'll also have an exclusive feature with Dr. Barry Brazelton, a world-renowned specialist. You may recognize him from the Lifetime cable network. We'll also meet another specialist of sorts, one that many of us grew up with. We leave you now with a whimsical look at some of the things you'll need to buy for 1 baby or for 3. Thanks for joining us, and thanks, too, for all those phone calls and letters. See you next week. For more information, please contact us at Life Choices, P.O. Box 555, Columbus, Ohio 43216, or call toll-free 1-800-441-9559. In the Columbus area, call 261-LIFE.
Life Choices is brought to you by Central Benefits, an innovator in the hospital health insurance industry for more than 50 years. And by Riverside Methodist Hospitals.
Today on Life Choices,
And they said, cash and courage and you'll be pregnant.
we'll examine a billion-dollar business that sometimes doesn't deliver. Dr. Joyce Brothers on easing the guilt when a working mother chooses to stay home.
And I saw that bottle there, and it intrigued me. And I thought, wow, I wonder what that's like.
The challenge that faces Doc Severinsen every day of his life.
And I'm Kathleen Sullivan in New York. In the National Health Report, a natural way to fight PMS.
Hello, I'm Erie Chapman. Imagine that the one thing you want more than anything else is a baby, but for whatever reason, you're unable to conceive. Fertility clinics offer hope, but at a very high price. High price emotionally, high price physically, and financially as well. So how do you choose a clinic that's more interested in you than in cashing in on your problem? In today's cover story, reporter Nadine Jelsing looks at your choices.
No, we're lucky. We got everything we wanted.
It's the dream of many couples, a perfect baby to call their own. But as more and more couples delay the start of their families, infertility means turning to high-tech help to conceive. This woman, we'll call her Karen, desperately wanted her own baby and got caught up in a world that took control.
I compare being infertile to someone that's a substance abuser almost. That you become addicted to being successful at it and just trying it again.
For 3 years, Karen tried to get pregnant with in vitro fertilization, or IVF, a procedure that first unites egg and sperm in the lab. IVF is expensive. One attempt can cost up to $8,000, and most insurance won't pick up the tab. Freezing embryos for future use can cost even more. It's a world of high stakes and low odds. Nationally, only about 13% of women who try IVF will take a baby home. Still, expectations run high.
They expect to get pregnant the first time they try it, and that's just not reality. The odds are people are going to have to try this more than once if they're going to be successful.
But there are no guarantees. Karen went through 8 cycles of IVF and was unsuccessful with every attempt.
Why did you keep going? Why did you keep going through cycle after cycle? Because if you went to a doctor and you said, am I going to get pregnant? And they say to you, of course you're going to get pregnant. You're the perfect candidate. You're going to say, well, of course I'm going to get pregnant. And you're going to keep going. When should I stop? I asked in Virginia around my 10th time, and they said, cash and courage and you'll be pregnant.
Today, infertility is big business. In 1987, experts began raising questions about the lack of regulations and criticized some clinics for exaggerating success rates to attract patients. Congressman Ron Wyden has introduced legislation he hopes will protect consumers. The bill would require clinics to report success rates and establish professional standards for embryo labs.
I think this legislation strikes a good balance in that it sets up a standard for infertility programs that they ought to abide by, and when they don't, the public's going to find out.
So in the meantime, how do you choose a clinic? Experts say pick up a copy of this, the annual clinic-specific report. Inside, you'll find the success rates of clinics that now report voluntarily. If they don't report and submit to an audit, they won't stay a member of SART, the Society for Assisted Reproductive Technology.
The impact of that would then mean, of course, then the consumer would look and say, gee, this program's not a member and they're not submitting their data. I wonder why. And that would be a red flag to me if I was looking at programs.
Available from the American Fertility Society, the report breaks down success rates according to a woman's age, fertility problems with a man, and specific procedures like IVF.
How good they really are can only be measured by babies.
Keith and Jody Alfinger count themselves among the lucky. After 6 attempts at IVF, they have a son. Meet Chase Alfinger, their frozen embryo baby.
He's a miracle. He's a miracle. It's an amazing technology, and when it all falls into place, then you end up with a child like we did.
It's real important that you seek the specialist, the real specialist, right away, that you don't spend years and lots of money with doctors who don't do this every day.
For Karen, the dream of a family finally became reality too, a family she now wants to protect with anonymity. 5 years ago, Karen faced a choice, to go on with IVF or to adopt. She decided then and there she wanted to be a parent more than she wanted to be pregnant.
After we had our daughter put in our arms, every ounce of me was relieved. And I did not think about going back again.
Karen and the Alfingers know the great pain and frustration infertility can bring, and in different ways, they know the rewards. Both offer the same advice. If you decide to try IVF, set a goal and keep it before you exhaust all your funds and your alternatives.
At what point would you have stopped?
We were on our last cycle. We said, this is it, we can't. We were on
Chase is the result of our last
and final attempt.
Karen hopes all she's been through helped lead her to her children. She only wishes that she'd adopted a long time ago.
Because I know that the way I feel about my children, I couldn't love them anymore if I had given birth to them. I thought I wanted a product of me, and I didn't realize that my daughter is that.
And Karen's advice is this. If you're considering treatment for infertility, get all the information you can. A good place to start is the American Fertility Society. Now, they can be reached at 2140 11th Avenue South, Suite 200, Birmingham, Alabama, 35205. Or at this phone number, 205-933-8494. You know, it seems like you can't even open the newspaper today without seeing stories about kids in trouble. Today, we take you to Boston to meet some folks who are choosing to do something about that and helping to solve another problem at the same time. Life Choices reporter Kathy Hart has more on this prescription for change.
While opportunity escapes many like her in Boston's inner city, LaTanya Turner's dream of a professional career is just a bus ride away.
I'd like to have you meet LaTanya.
This 16-year-old is one of 30 high school students accepted into the Choose Nursing program at Boston's Beth Israel Hospital. The goal is to attract minority and low-income teenagers to the nursing profession.
I've had a lot of experiences, walking patients, taking vital signs, learn about different machines they have.
In most hospitals, people of color work in low-skilled jobs. They make up only 7% of all registered nurses, though they comprise 20% of America's population. And in New England, the number of minority nurses is even lower, at 2.2%. The Choose Nursing program is the prescription to change that.
Nursing certainly needs to have more people of color, more people of cultural diversity, and certainly needs to continue to bring in the best and the brightest.
And LaTanya and I are going to help you on either side. Okay?
Very good.
Kathy Walsh is LaTanya's mentor. The registered nurse supervises the teens' clinical work on the orthopedic floor.
I can really see what a difference it makes in the high school students' lives, and it seems to really, really benefit them.
William Singleton is just beginning the 2-year program. Like LaTanya, he'll be paid for hundreds of hours of clinical work and will get academic help and guidance counseling as well.
Some think after high school they have nothing to do, and that's not right. That's not true, because there's a lot of things that you can do when you get out of high school, like nursing.
This unique program offers LaTanya and William a new choice to change their lives and the makeup of the nursing profession.
And in 4 years, where would you like to be? Graduating, working in a hospital somewhere.
And still ahead on Life Choices, a very special person, band leader Doc Severinsen, waging a battle that began when he was just a toddler. Dr. Joyce Brothers' advice for career women who choose to make motherhood a full-time job.
And I'm Kathleen Sullivan in New York. We'll also look at some simple, easy-to-do relaxation techniques.
This segment of Life Choices is brought to you by Wendy's. From salads to grilled chicken, Wendy's offers healthy choices for today's lifestyles.
Everybody's getting into shape these days.
Hi, Dave.
Riding that extra mile. Pumping a little more iron. Doing whatever it takes to stay fit. And now at Wendy's, you can put together a variety of meals for under 400 calories, like a grilled chicken sandwich, fresh salad, and diet drink. We've got the best variety of healthful choices in the business.
You know what I like about exercise? I like it when it's over.
Try Wendy's healthful choices today.
You know, boss man doesn't want to hear about, can't come to work today, I got a cold. No work, no pay. Contact, you take one of them, you're good for 12 hours. When you got a cold, well, you wake up in the morning, your head all stuffed up, your nose running down your face. Track dogs can't deal with that 4-hour cold medication. So you better take something that's going to get you down there working. I don't care if it rains, sleets, snows. You can't be a wimpy thing.
Contact, 12 hours of timed release maximum strength medicine. There's a whole day's work in every Contact.
If you're approaching retirement age, you should know that Medicare alone can mean a health insurance deficit. Medicare generally pays less than half of the average individual's yearly health care cost. And deciding the best supplemental policy for your needs can be a real dilemma. We can appreciate how you might feel. We want to be your partner in helping you select the right coverage. Just call us. We'll treat you as a partner, not just a premium. Picking the right insurance company can be tougher than selecting the right coverage. Here's what to look for. Financial strength. Central Benefits reserves are among the highest in the industry. Customer service. We pay claims in a matter of days. And with our supplemental coverage, there are no claim forms to fill out. Central Benefits. We'll treat you as a partner, not just a premium.
If you're joining us for the very first time, we'd certainly like to welcome you to Life Choices. Our program is now seen across this country and, as you can see, around the world as well. We'd especially like to welcome those of you who are hearing impaired. For you, we are delighted to broadcast our program with closed captioning. Well, now to New York with Kathleen Sullivan, who has this week's National Health Report. Kathleen?
Thank you, Erie. Smokers, here's another warning for you. Not only are you more likely to develop heart disease, but you're also more likely not to feel its earliest warning sign, chest pains.
Recent studies indicate that smokers may have a higher threshold for pain.
Normally, a partially blocked blood vessel in the heart will cause chest pain, but the anesthetic effects of nicotine actually numbs nerve endings, so heart disease may go unnoticed. Women, if you're looking for a way to numb the pain and moodiness of PMS, premenstrual syndrome, we may actually have an answer for you. Studies show 4 glasses of skim milk a day can ease the feelings of irritability, lessen the severity of cramps, and generally put you in a better frame of mind. Government researchers say the calcium in 4 glasses of skim milk appears to affect the secretion of hormones that trigger PMS symptoms. Exercise might also ease the pain. Here now to make sure we're getting the most of our workout is fitness trainer Steve Haynes.
Thanks, Kathleen. Walking is the simplest, safest, and least expensive exercise you can do for yourself. Today I'm going to get you up to speed on aerobic and power walking. To do that, we first must examine the 3 steps to a heart-healthy walk. First is the step, the stride, and more importantly, the speed. First, the step. You want to walk by stepping down on the back of your heels, then rolling onto your toes. Comfortable walking or running shoes will make this easier on you. And next, the stride. Keep your head up, shoulders back, and eyes on the horizon. Let your arms work for you. Keep them bent and keep them moving each and every step. And finally, the speed. Walk faster than you normally do, and walk at least 2 to 3 miles in a half hour. Put your headsets on, play your favorite tunes, put it all together, and most importantly, enjoy. Get out and walk 4 to 5 times a week, and take at least 3 to 5 minutes to stretch before and after each and every workout. And remember, speak with your doctor before starting any exercise program. From San Diego, this is Steve Haynes reminding you to keep focused on fitness.
And Steve will bring us more fitness focuses in the upcoming weeks. There are all kinds of little baby shoes, from the tiniest sneakers to saddle Oxfords. But if your baby isn't walking yet, does he or she really need those little shoes? The experts say no. In fact, babies who are just learning to walk are better off going barefoot if indoors. Going barefoot will help babies grip with their toes and provide better balance. It also helps leg muscles develop more naturally. If your child has good balance or wants to walk outside, then you can get those little shoes. If you're feeling stressed out, help is actually only as far away as your bathtub. A report from the National Academy of Sciences says a nice hot bath can give you just as much relief from stress and anxiety as any meditation technique. A long walk will also do the same. However you choose to relax, the key is to practice it on a regular basis. And that's this week's National Health Report. I'm Kathleen Sullivan in New York.
Thank you, Kathleen. And speaking of stress, many new mothers are making a very difficult choice these days. They're giving up their jobs and their incomes to stay home and raise a family. And while they do this out of love for the children, it can cause problems for the parents. Dr. Joyce Brothers offers some practical choices when this issue comes up between us.
Sweetie, more I found upstairs.
Great.
Phil and Kathy try to make the best out of a chore none of us like, paying bills. It's especially hard for Kathy because she feels guilty. She's a long-time working woman who's chosen to stay at home for now to raise their little girl. She sometimes feels useless and frustrated because she's no longer bringing home a paycheck.
It has been difficult. It really has been difficult. I don't spend money the same way. I don't feel like I can spend money the same way. And it's not really any pressure from him, but it's more from myself thinking, oh God, you know, I'm not contributing.
But she is contributing. Her husband certainly thinks so. But Phil is caught in a conflict of his own. He worries about the family budget because he's now the sole breadwinner. He also feels bad when Kathy feels worthless or guilty.
I realize that it's a strain on her too. I really do, and whatever I can do to help her, I try. She's working very hard, I know.
Phil can't help Kathy with her identity crisis. She must resolve that for herself. But he can help her by talking to her at the end of the day. She's been dealing with a child all day. She needs adult conversation. And also by recognizing just how much she is doing to help the family by choosing to stay at home. They did one study in which they tried to find out how much money each task a woman at home does and what it's worth in the workplace. And a wife is worth $50,000 a year, more than most men can afford to pay her. Phil is glad Kathy's staying at home to care for Lucy. And Kathy thinks she made the right decision, too. She loves raising their first child, more than she loved her previous job.
You don't want to eat it, do you?
Women's liberation has really come full circle. Early in the feminist movement, women who didn't work outside their homes were criticized by women who did. But now, truly liberated women are making informed choices about what's most important to them. If you're proud of your choices, your mate and your children will be too. For Life Choices, I'm Dr. Joyce Brothers.
Well, next up, band leader Doc Severinsen and the difficult choices that he makes every day of his life.
This segment of Life Choices is brought to you by Wendy's. From salads to grilled chicken, Wendy's offers healthy choices for today's lifestyles.
The fascination always existed. The human body, without doubt, is the greatest of inventions. Flawless in design, capable of astonishing feats. Amazingly, the harder the body is worked, the stronger, more beautiful it becomes. To unlock your body's potential, we proudly offer Soloflex. 32 old-fashioned iron-pumping exercises, each correct in form and balance. All on a machine that fits in the corner of your home. Soloflex, simple and efficient, like the body itself. Which may explain why it looks less like a machine and more like a work of art. For a free brochure, call anytime.
Books are vital to young minds, but many schools don't have all the quality books they need. So Kroger has come up with a way to help. It's called Bucks for Books. To contribute, just turn in your gold Kroger register receipts to any participating school. For every cent you spend on groceries, Kroger will help your school buy books. And if you buy items identified by the bonus buck sign, your contribution will be doubled. It's a great way to feed your family and hungry minds.
In February 1892, Colonel James Kilbourne held a meeting at his Town Street residence to name the first governing board for a new children's hospital. Little did he realize that 100 years later, the once 9-bed facility would see nearly 290,000 patients annually. Today, Children's Hospital serves over 37 counties, and the care we provide is the highest quality found anywhere. Thanks, Central Ohio, for the first 100 years and the foundation on which to build an even brighter future for our community's children.
I'm Kathleen Sullivan with today's Health Facts. If you're trying to lose weight, keep records. Most people overestimate their exercise and underestimate how much they eat.
Next week on Life Choices, meet Dr. Mom. She's a 51-year-old grandmother who went straight to the head of her class. Right now, though, a visit with Doc Severinsen. After 3 decades of leading the Tonight Show Orchestra, this world-renowned trumpeter has a whole new career. But for some very good reasons, the good doctor still chooses to take life one day at a time. Reporter Lisa Arledge explains.
Tonight Show band conductor Doc Severinsen led his orchestra into the homes and hearts of millions of Americans for 30 years.
My wife says that the best part of my life is before me right now. That as wonderful as the Tonight Show has been, now it's time to get on and do other things.
Direct from the Johnny Carson Show, let's welcome the Doc Severinsen Orchestra.
Doc's retirement from The Tonight Show hasn't slowed him down one bit. He and the band from The Carson Show have taken their big sound on the road. Even as a small child, Doc loved music. Here, he plays his father's clarinet. Born Carl Severinsen, he was nicknamed after his father, the only dentist in Arlington, Oregon. In this small community, Doc was introduced to the challenge he would face wherever he went.
The problem developed when I was about 5 or 6 years old. I can remember we used to have parties at the house, and there would be a bottle of whiskey out in the kitchen, and I saw that bottle there, and it intrigued me, and I thought, wow, I wonder what that's like. And I took a drink of it, and I thought, that tastes pretty good.
Doc continued drinking throughout his school years until he reached his 30s and became involved with the support group. Today, at 65 and at the height of his popularity, Doc still chooses his trumpet over raising a bottle to his mouth. But he admits living without liquor is a daily struggle.
I have no interest in going into a fine restaurant and having just a glass of wine. I still really want to take a bottle of scotch and knock the neck off of that thing and just go for it.
How do you keep yourself from doing that then?
Well, you just put it off for the next few minutes or the next day or as long as you can, and it's a day at a time.
Doc Severinsen is a man deeply committed, and that determination shows in his performance.
Well, freeing ourselves from any addictions is one of the Life Choices keys to a successful life. If you or anyone close to you is facing any addiction, find a support group in your community today. We'll be back with more Life Choices right after you make the choice. You've lost a filling, and now your tooth really hurts. From the time your filling falls out until you see a dentist, should you put an aspirin on your tooth, or hold an ice pack to your jaw, or put clove oil on the tooth? You make the choice. The answer when Life Choices continues.
This segment of Life Choices is brought to you by Wendy's. From salads to grilled chicken, Wendy's offers healthy choices for today's lifestyle.
When choosing a doctor, a hospital, or a health plan, look for the name that people have trusted for more than a century. Call the one number that connects you with over 900 physicians and the most preferred hospital in Central Ohio. Call the Riverside Physician Referral Service at 566-5100 to ensure the one thing that really matters, the health of you and your family. You can depend on Riverside.
Books are vital to young minds, but many schools don't have all the quality books they need. So Kroger has come up with a way to help. It's called Bucks for Books. To contribute, just turn in your gold Kroger register receipts to any participating school. For every cent you spend on groceries, Kroger will help your school buy books. And if you buy items identified by the bonus buck sign, your contribution will be doubled. It's a great way to feed your family and hungry minds.
What's your best choice to ease the pain of a lost filling? If you pick clove oil, you made the right choice.
That will soothe the tooth. Just put a little bit on a cotton pellet. If you don't have any of that at home, there are medications at the pharmacy which contain eugenol, which is the ingredient that soothes the tooth. The one thing you don't want to do is put aspirin on that area. That can cause another problem.
Next time on Life Choices, smoking was once seen as glamorous. Today, most people know better. And for some who don't, meet David Bresnick. We'll visit a baseball big leaguer who battled the odds and then battled them again and again. I'm Erie Chapman, wishing you good health and peace. And I'll see you next time when we'll be right here on Life Choices, helping you take charge of your life.
It's a miracle.
He's American.
Nursing certainly needs to continue to bring in the best and the brightest.
I realized that it's a strain on her, too.
My wife says that the best part of my life is before me.
For a transcript of today's program, send $5 to Life Choices, P.O. Box 7, Livingston, New Jersey, 07039. Please refer to the subject matter and the date the program aired.
On this edition of America's Weekly Health Show, Life Choices with Erie Chapman.
I hated him, and one day he was going to die.
Josephine Adkins went to prison for killing her husband, but the jury didn't know the whole story. Now, this governor is making the choice to set her free.
In the event, I have a responsibility as governor to exercise my best judgment, and I will.
I'm Barbara.
You'll share a rare and touching meeting between these two families as they share one transplant story.
She has my dad's stuff, and, well, she's sort of part of my family now.
Also, from the Hollywood set of The Young and the Restless, a Life Choices exclusive interview with actress Jean Cooper, next on Life Choices with Erie Chapman.
Welcome to Life Choices, America's weekly health show. And here's your host, Erie Chapman.
Inside this 12-foot fence, behind this frightening-looking barbed wire, are 1,200 women. Each of them has been convicted of crimes ranging from robbery to murder. Josephine Adkins is one of those women. Her crime was hiring a hitman to kill her own husband. Her choice was murder. But why? Only Josephine Adkins knows the answer in her case. Josephine Adkins plotted her husband's death for months. She wanted nothing more than to see him dead.
I could look at him and talk to him and be okay with him. But in the back of my mind, I was telling myself and looking at him saying I hated him and one day he was going to die.
Fearing she couldn't carry out the hideous act alone, Josephine hired a killer. 3 months and just $300 later, the deed was done. Her husband, Danny, was found dead by the couple's 12-year-old son.
My son ran to the car and opened the car door, and there was a body in there.
This mother of 6 and grandmother of 8 showed little remorse throughout the trial. She was sentenced to 23 years to life. But what's the other side of the story? Well, some would say that Josephine isn't a ruthless killer. Instead, they believe that she, too, is a victim of domestic violence.
Ran in the kitchen, you got a butcher knife, and he was, like he was going to stab me with it. And he picked up an iron that was on the table, and he hit me in my head with it twice. And I had 50 stitches here in my head. And my son was just hysterical, crying. So he took a belt and he hit him twice with it. And at that time, my daughter had jumped out the window to get some help.
For 20 years of her 22-year marriage, Josephine was slapped, cut, punched, and even shot at by her deeply disturbed and often drunk husband.
I think the battered woman syndrome is really a syndrome of defeat. It's a syndrome where the person feels so defeated physically, emotionally, that they feel that they cannot get out of the situation. In fact, they often are so filled with hope that their loved one can change that they feel unwilling to take the risk it takes to get out of the syndrome.
Josephine, people want to know, why didn't you leave after years of abuse?
I could say, I love my husband, and even now that he's dead, I could rightfully say I did. But as I got older, I saw no way out of the relationship with just maybe a divorce, because I knew with him that wasn't going to work.
On top of all the real abuse that Josephine suffered, there was more. It was the last straw. She found out that her husband was sexually abusing their 13-year-old daughter. Josephine, how did you feel when you saw your husband dead?
Well, I felt kind of relieved, and something inside me told me that I was going to be okay. And my children would not have to worry anymore.
Soon, Josephine and her family will have the chance to start over. She's one of the 25 women in Ohio who've been granted clemency. In his last days in office, former Ohio Governor Richard Celeste let them go on grounds that the women suffered from a terrible cycle of violence known as the battered woman syndrome. Celeste calls each of their cases genuine tragedies, saying what these women really have in common is that none of them were able to submit evidence of the battering during the trial. State law was changed just last year. Now the syndrome is admissible when showing self-defense. Still, some believe the governor failed to get all the facts. Prosecutor Mike Miller.
I think the problem is that we've seen somebody, some person has been convicted of a crime beyond a reasonable doubt by a jury of 12 or a judge or something of that nature. And they have been released without, in my judgment, the governor having the facts that he should have had prior to making that determination.
Some people are angry at you for even considering letting some of these individuals go.
I understand that anger. I think we're always afraid of violence, and I think that there are particularly men who feel that if you give women a license to somehow retaliate, to defend themselves, we'll have more violence, not less. I think they don't understand all of the facts, and in any event, I have a responsibility as governor to exercise my best judgment, and I will.
And as governor, you will be deciding to intervene, perhaps in some instances where the court system has already made a decision and the parole board has decided not to release these individuals.
That's right, but part of what has changed is that we now understand the battered woman syndrome in a way that we didn't a decade ago. And for most of the 1980s, because of a Supreme Court decision here in Ohio, evidence of battering was not admissible in defense of a woman who finally simply became undone.
Here are the facts. Nearly 2 million women are battered each year. 4,000 of them die. But what's most important for all of us to realize is that the battered woman syndrome can happen in any neighborhood. It crosses all socioeconomic barriers. In fact, physical violence is a factor in 52% of middle-class divorces, including Marie Kennedy's. We first spoke with Marie on Life Choices 4 years ago.
When he began hitting me, it did happen at a time when he was having job problems, and I started rationalizing his behavior. I started making excuses for him because he would always be very apologetic. Afterward, he would always bring me flowers. He would take me out to dinner. He would treat me wonderfully well for a while. And it took me quite a few years to realize that the reality was he only loved me, quote, unquote, loved me, when I was doing exactly what he wanted.
What would you say to other women who are in a similar situation to the one you were in?
Well, I think the thing to do is leave and put enough distance in between so it won't be that constant come back to me and I'm sorry and I'm not going to do it anymore, and to make the choice that this person maybe is not going to change and that he shouldn't be part of your life.
If you think that you might be falling into the cycle of violence that is the battered woman syndrome, you deserve to stop the pain. Please call the Domestic Violence National Hotline at 1-800-333-SAFE. That's 1-800-333-SAFE. The 1984 movie, The Burning Bed, brought the issue of the battered woman syndrome onto all of our television screens. Farrah Fawcett's gripping portrayal of an abused wife sent thousands of women in search of help for the very first time. Today, a new movie focusing on domestic violence is playing in theaters. It's Sleeping with the Enemy, starring Julia Roberts. She plays Laura, a woman on an emotional roller coaster of passion and pain. But her pain comes from her husband's physical and psychological battering.
Well, we all forget things. That's what reminding is for.
A person like Laura, or a woman in her situation, is led to believe that it's her fault and that she has not done something right or not done enough and brought this on herself.
The movie's producers say that the film will show women that they can choose to leave abusive relationships. A little bit later on, I'll take you to meet another actress who isn't afraid to tackle real-life problems. From The Young and the Restless, you'll meet Jean Cooper. But next, from our studio, Kathy Starling has the touching story of two families who unraveled a life-saving mystery.
You can call Life Choices with your questions and comments at 1-800-441-9559. Again, that's 1-800-441-9559. Life Choices is brought to you by Riverside Methodist Hospitals.
Little hands and little feet, 10 fingers and 10 toes, a miracle unfolding, how God only knows. Sometimes we take for granted how fragile life can be, till the fight for mere existence in a child's eyes is seen.
Bank One, the bank that introduced America's first 24-hour banking machine back in the 70s, recently asked its customers what new service they wanted from a bank in the 90s. And while Bank One can't do everything they ask, we will do whatever it takes to please our customers. Within reason.
The Kroger Company and Riverside Methodist Hospitals want to help you make healthy choices.
We've all heard that oat bran is a good source of fiber. To add variety to your diet, consider these alternatives: fresh fruits and vegetables, brown rice, dried beans, and foods made from whole wheat flour, such as breads, cereals, and pasta. For more nutrition information, pick up your copy of the Healthy Choices newsletter at your Kroger store today.
Save on frozen grade A turkey breast, now 99 cents a pound.
Our health insurance premiums. Another increase. You're my broker? Tell me how to get this under control.
There's a new product from Central Benefits that's really different. Your employees would be responsible for the smaller dollar routine health care, doctor's visits, prescriptions. Then your insurance would cover the big things like major surgery and hospital stays. Your people would be involved in paying for their health care, and you'll reduce your costs. It's more like what insurance started out to be.
I like the sound of this. This could really help my bottom line.
I'm medical reporter Kathy Starling. The story I'm going to share with you today began several months ago. You may remember Barbara Alp. She had just received a kidney and liver transplant. And it was all because of one family's vision to see some good come out of a very devastating situation. But Barbara received not only the gift of life, she also received the gift of a lasting friendship. In the next few moments, this blue house will hold two very special families. Both have experienced being on the brink of death. On the 4th of July, two people, each in different hospitals, lie dying. Doug, 38 years old, was brain dead from a massive hemorrhage. Barbara, 49 years old, had polycystic kidney disease. Both her kidneys and her liver were failing her. Doug's family was told there was nothing they could do for him. The only hope for Barbara was a kidney and liver transplant.
At that point, the things I loved about my brother were gone. He had an excellent sense of humor and told a lot of funny stories, and being brain dead, his ability to do that was, of course, over. And when you come to that point, why not give someone else a chance to live?
So Doug's mother, brothers, and sisters made what they considered the best choice, to donate his organs. It was very important for Karen to know that out of her brother's death came life. She watched the newspaper and put two and two together. Barbara Alp was one of the people who benefited.
There wasn't anything they could do to help Doug, and they knew that, so it was last minute. Yeah. They said yes to the doctors. Thank heavens they did for me.
Barbara knew how Doug's family felt because Karen wrote her a letter. She told Barb Doug would have been proud to know the outcome of his death.
Those were two little girls.
Barb wrote back to Karen, and that led to phone calls, which led to today. With Butterflies, Barb and family meets Karen and family.
Barbara. We've talked a lot. And this is Dad.
Doug's two daughters, Beth and Melissa, came carrying their scrapbooks filled with pictures of their dad. This picture was taken whitewater rafting 1 week before he died. Barbara was pleased to see the man who gave her such a precious gift.
I feel a part of them. I don't know why, but I do. I feel a part of them because I'm part of their father.
That's one of the reasons organ procurement agencies keep donors and recipients anonymous. There could be more guilt or pressure on the families if a transplant is not successful. But these two families made the choice on their own to do things differently.
I had just had an overwhelming need to let her know that he was a person too.
This is a neat thing. It's nice to know that somebody is benefiting from our decision.
For someone to have gone through what she's gone through and look as good as she does, I mean, that really made my day.
And for Beth and Melissa, they feel even prouder of their dad.
She has my dad's stuff, and, well, she's sort of part of my family now.
What do you think your dad did for her?
He helped save her life.
How does that make you feel?
Good.
I read somewhere recently that one television story won't make people donate organs. But maybe these two families will make you think about it again. In other news, the first few days after surgery for some patients may be more risky than the operation, says a study in the New England Journal of Medicine. Surgery of any kind puts stress on the heart. If a patient is elderly and has heart disease, the added stress can be enough to cause a heart attack. The study suggests that closer monitoring of the heart 48 hours after surgery could potentially save lives. Well, while fewer people are smoking, more are dying from past habits. A report from the Centers for Disease Control shows smoking-related diseases like cancer and heart attacks are now taking their toll on people 55 and older who smoked for years. And the CDC says the number of smoking-related deaths are expected to keep rising. Well, chocolate, tea, and coffee may not be all bad for your teeth. Researchers are finding a substance in those products. Tannins may actually help fight tooth decay. Studies at the University of California School of Dentistry are showing tannins can dramatically reduce cavities by making it harder for plaque to stick to teeth. Indulging in chocolate, though, isn't the best way to stop cavities. Research will probably lead to new mouthwashes, toothpaste, and chewing gum. Life Choices continues from Hollywood right after this.
Life Choices is brought to you by Central Benefits, an innovator in the hospital health industry for more than 50 years.
Most of the people on our staff have been here a long time, and so they bring a great deal of expertise to the Grant Eye and Ear Hospital. Our doctors, anesthesiologists, nurses, and technicians make the best team possible because we share a common goal, and that is the patient's optimum care. It's really rewarding to know that you're doing something to help the patient have a healthier and happier life.
Specialized care at the Eye and Ear Hospital at Grant Medical Center.
Learn more about your health through Healthy Choices, a program for life from Riverside Methodist Hospitals and Kroger.
Pick up your Healthy Choices newsletter at your Kroger checkout lane today.
America's weekly health show, Life Choices with Erie Chapman, is nominated for 7 Emmy Awards for Best Magazine Show and for stories like The Little Hero Who Gave His Heart to His Sister, for the uncertainty of living with AIDS, for the miracle of transplantation, and for making the choice to go back to nature. Thank you for making Life Choices your best life choice.
One of the most important decisions you'll ever make is choosing your doctor. Now one call puts you in touch with more than 1,000 of the best physicians. The Riverside Grant Physician Referral Service makes it easy for you to choose your doctor. Whatever your needs, Central Ohio's best health care is now at your fingertips. So call the Riverside Grant Physician Referral Service at 261-5100, and we'll help find the right doctor for you. Well, for those of you who are daytime soap opera fans, we've got something very special for you. Right behind there is the set of The Young and the Restless, and we have for you today an interview with the matriarch, the queen of daytime soap operas, Jean Cooper.
If it's Victor Newman, I want...
No, it is not Victor.
Goodness, Catherine.
Oh, Johnny, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No.
It's her 18th year on The Young and the Restless, and Jean Cooper remains one of the most popular and highly recognized women in the business. She's received many awards, and she has 2 Daytime Emmy nominations for her portrayal of the proud and the wealthy Catherine Chancellor.
But, Johnny, it's your feelings I have to wonder about.
Jean's success may be due in part to the tremendous amount of herself that she's willing to share through her role. Incorporating her personal, challenging experiences with alcoholism and plastic surgery right into the storyline is one way that Jean reaches out to help thousands of viewers.
Your character has done an awful lot of things on the show, obviously.
Oh, dear.
And you and
yeah.
you've actually done those things. I mean, actually choosing to have plastic surgery on the program. Why did you do that?
I didn't elect to do that. In fact, Jean Cooper elected to do that, and then Bill Bell, the creator of the show, said, "Do you mind if we make that Catherine's storyline?" And I said, "Well, I think that's a pretty good shot, since I'm going to come back looking a little different. You know, Catherine's going to say, must be the spring air." It's going to look dumb. So consequently, we agreed upon it, as long as they did it in a documentary way. It has to be entertaining, but it also can't give any false ideas. The point of it was it's in here, you have to be just fine. If you think this is going to change this, you're totally wrong. I think when someone said, "Why, it must have been very brave," or I never, ever, I swear to God, I never thought it was brave. I thought it was exciting. I mean, Gravity was just screaming, so, you know, I wanted to make Jean happy. But in doing so, it crossed over that line somewhere that so many people said, she really cares. She's really taking the fear out of it.
When you think back over your life, maybe the last 30 or 40 years of your life, what have been the darkest days?
The darkest moment of my lifetime was when I made the decision to get a divorce. That is when my drinking started, you see, and I would get these humongous stomach spasms, and somebody said, "Here, a brandy will knock it, it'll warm it, and it'll cool the muscle down." So I thought I could control that, and I would get a stomach spasm, and I would have some brandy, and it would go away.
And more and more and more.
Well, the thing of it is, pretty soon, the brandy started calling for a stomach spasm, saying, "You get a stomach spasm. I need one play." It is so conniving.
Yes.
It is so easy to fall in, and it happens so easily, so easily, you know.
What is the best decision you've ever made? But your best life choice?
My best life choice was that I really made a commitment to like me better than anybody else, so that I can like other people. And I basically had that, but then to reaffirm it, and then it was a committed life choice.
We'll be right back with more great life choices from right here in the set of The Young and the Restless.
You can call Life Choices with your questions and comments at 1-800-441-9559. Again, that's 1-800-441-9559. Life Choices is brought to you by Riverside Methodist Hospitals.
I've been through a lot of diet programs. I wanted a program that had a nurse and a doctor, a behaviorist, a dietitian. That's what Riverside has.
The Riverside Minute, presented by the staff of one of America's finest hospitals.
The Riverside Methodist Hospital Center for Weight Control is committed to treating excessive weight as a medical problem by a team of skilled healthcare professionals.
We emphasize changing our behaviors, learning about ourselves, finding out why we did something in the first place, and then how we're going to make it different.
We are dealing right now with the rest of our life. Not just that I'm slim or that I look good, but that inside and outside I feel good.
For more information, call the Riverside Center for Weight Control at 442-8811. A message from the staff of Riverside.
You know, last year at this time, I was struggling to keep the company above water. Yeah, it's not that we didn't do well. It was just the ridiculous cost of covering health care for our staff. My broker found out about a new product from Central Benefits. It isn't anything like our old medical plan. This program makes our employees responsible for paying for their own minor health care. And we pick up the big ticket items like surgeries and hospital stays. This new product saves me thousands of dollars every month. Now I've got time for more important things. It's made all the difference.
Learn more about your health through Healthy Choices, a program for life from Riverside Methodist Hospitals and Kroger.
Pick up your Healthy Choices newsletter at your Kroger checkout lane today.
Just like Gene Cooper, who's made the choice to deal with real-life issues like alcoholism and plastic surgery, both on screen and off, I hope you'll have the courage to make your own best life choices. Here's what's coming up next week. We'll bring you a focus on fibrositis. It affects 5% of our population, including women with young families, like Gene Krebs. Also, actor Danny Glover of the movies Lethal Weapon and Predator 2 highlights his best life choice. Until next time, remember, each of us has received the gift of life, and how we choose to use that gift is up to us. I'll see you next time. Hello, I'm Erie Chapman. Please join me next on AM 1460 WBNS Radio for the Life Choices live call-in radio show. It's on right now from 11 to noon. Please join me in my panel of medical experts. Dial 821-WBNS. That's 821-WBNS with your questions.
Call and order your free Life Choices magazine. Dial 1-900-329-LIFE. There is a $1.50 charge for the first minute and 95-cent charge for each additional minute. Dial 1-900-329-LIFE. This topic is a continuation of the Life Choices television show, and we're live here in the studio from now until noon. We've got a call from Dorothy in Columbus. You're on the air.
Join host Stephanie Bennett along with her guests, former Governor Richard Celeste and social worker Lori Yosick, and Dr. Scott Johnson on the Life Choices Live call-in radio show, next on AM 1460 WBNS. Dial 821-9267 or toll free 1-800-262-0132.
Life Choices with Erie Chapman is a production of Riverside Methodist.
Reverend Bob Harris was diagnosed with diabetes.
Persecuted, but not forsaken.
At 25, another disease struck, myasthenia gravis, a nerve condition that makes it difficult to keep his eyelids open.
Struck down, but not destroyed.
But these problems have not darkened his vision for a healthier life. A pastor at Teal College in Greenville, Pennsylvania, Harris has made the choice to have a pancreas transplant, a procedure that could not only halt the encroaching complications of diabetes, but help the myasthenia gravis as well. But there's one catch to all this. To even be considered for the operation, Harris has to come up with a $60,000 deposit, money his insurance company won't pay.
I think it's tragic. I mean, how many people can raise $60,000? How many people have access to that kind of money? And the inequity involved in that really hits home.
But at the urging of his doctors, Harris took a closer look at his financial resources. What he found was hope in a network of colleagues and church associations willing to help. So far, though, he's only raised $8,200. Today, many insurance companies cover a wide variety of organ transplants, but the pancreas transplant is still considered experimental. That's why many companies refuse to cover the costs. Naomi Aronson of Blue Cross Blue Shield helps evaluate the effectiveness of various procedures.
The patient would have to take drugs to prevent rejection for a lifetime. These drugs have some serious side effects, including damage to the kidney. Our concern is that that procedure, that operation is not beneficial. It may be more dangerous to the patient than simply going on and being maintained by insulin.
I may be a dimly burning wick, but I'm not extinguished.
Regardless of the risks or the cost, Harris plans to keep fighting, not only for himself, but to encourage other diabetics facing similar choices.
The best way for me to be a steward of the body that I have, fractured as it is in fact to exercise the right and the option of going for this surgical procedure. However difficult it is to raise the money necessary, that it is a viable option.
You might as well aim as high as you can.
That's right. Not failure, but low aim is the crime. Thanks.
Today, Harris remains guardedly optimistic. He has the love and support of his congregation, his friends, and a caring family. Each day, he says, becomes a source of new hope.
Well, the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning is I'm very grateful to be alive, knowing that whatever paths, people's lives that I cross that day, that I can be an instrument of healing in my own way.
And you know something? With plenty of hope that more cash will come through, Reverend Harris has one more thing on his side: time. Susan Frampton doesn't have that luxury. Coming up next, her family races time and tackles the system to save her life.
Life Choices is brought to you by Riverside Methodist Hospitals.
You coming?
Well, about that time.
Bank One, one of the banks that pioneered consumer credit cards more than 20 years ago, asked its customers what they wanted most from a bank today. And while Bank One can't give them exactly what they asked for, we will do whatever it takes to please our customers. Within reason.
Recent advances in ultrasound technology have significantly improved our ability to diagnose abnormalities of the heart.
The Riverside Minute, presented as a public service by the staff of one of America's finest hospitals.
The Riverside Heart Institute performs 22,000 heart procedures each year. One new procedure is called transesophageal echocardiography, or TEE. This non-surgical procedure can be performed on an outpatient basis. The patient swallows a small imaging device that is positioned behind the heart. This gives us unique images that are not available in any other way. They are used in diagnosis or in assisting surgeons to repair malfunctioning heart valves. In effect, doctors and patients together are using this procedure to make better informed choices about heart care.
A public service from the staff of Riverside. Celebrating a century of healing. Riverside.
Learn more about your health through Healthy Choices, a program for life from Riverside Methodist Hospitals and Kroger.
Pick up your copy of April's Healthy Choices newsletter at a Kroger checkout.
Imagine this for a moment. You're 30 years old. You have 2 young children, a devoted husband, and a life-threatening problem. That's Susan Frampton's challenge, and it's one that only money, a match, and determination can solve.
Does this go together?
The Framptons are a family that sticks together. Susan and Dan, Charla and Danny. They have to. Susan's been a diabetic since age 8, and now, at 30, she's fighting for her life.
My kidneys started failing, it's the main thing. My eyes got worse. My legs would give out on me just walking to the mailbox. One of the doctors told me, well, within 4 years, that's it.
It was a death sentence the Framptons refused to hear, but their only hope was a kidney pancreas transplant, and Susan's doctors at the time said no way.
I asked them about having a transplant, and they says, oh, you don't want to have a transplant. It costs too much money. So that just made me push harder.
They told us that it was just for the, you know, we'd never be able to afford it. A normal person couldn't afford the transplant.
So began the Framptons' fight to raise the $60,000 deposit. Everything from bingo and bike-a-thons to raffles and dances. But time was running out, and if Susan was to live, the system would have to give. Susan and Dan began writing countless letters to senators and representatives, even the president, hoping to gain support for their cause. What kept you writing letter after letter after letter?
Money's raising too slow. We need the insurance company. If we had to wait on all the benefits to bring in enough money for us, it was going to take forever.
In a final cry for help, Susan and Dan wrote a letter to every board member of the General Electric plant where Dan works. GE, who is self-insured, had originally said no to the transplant. But just 3 days after receiving the letters, GE said yes. It was the payoff of a lifetime. Do you remember what went through your mind?
Yeah, I guess I kind of yelled pretty loud when the personnel manager called, just about hopping up and down. Pretty happy.
If you are so fortunate.
Because the deposit's covered, Susan's been placed on a short-term waiting list. Now, all that stands between her and the transplant is finding a suitable donor, then finding more money. They'll still be responsible for up to $30,000 in hospital costs and a $7,000 helicopter flight to their chosen hospital in Minnesota. It's an ongoing struggle that's taking a toll, especially since Susan's health is rapidly deteriorating. What's been the hardest part in all this?
I think a lot of it's the emotional strain, trying to raise the kids at the same time, trying to keep a regular lifestyle going. Every morning you get up, you have something to do, to work on for a fundraiser. When you go to bed at night, you're working on things. Plus, I'm trying to go to work. It's hard to balance everything.
But the Framptons say they're not about to give up now.
We can do anything. We put our minds to it.
They've fought too hard, they've come too far, and a new chance at life is too close.
Of course, there are no guarantees with any transplant procedure, but if that choice turns out for the best, what might Susan and Reverend Harris expect? Doug Yoakum has a story that they can really appreciate. When we first visited Doug 2 years ago, he lived in a body ravaged by the complications of diabetes. His life revolved around dialysis machines and insulin shots. He'd become so weak that a simple walk around the block was impossible.
He was to the point where I don't know how much further downhill it could have gone. I think that he was very close to death.
This is Doug today. His life changed dramatically by a kidney pancreas transplant performed at Ohio State.
I feel like a whole new person. I haven't had an insulin shot for 22 months. It was the best choice I ever made in my life. I'm just, like I said, a new person.
Although Doug's had a couple of setbacks unrelated to the transplant, He says that his life is now getting back to normal. He wants to go back to school and eventually start his own business. These are goals that are now definitely within his grasp. Because of evidence like Doug's case, Blue Cross and Blue Shield has now begun recommending that kidney pancreas transplants be funded. Pancreas transplants alone continue to be considered experimental. And that brings us to today's Life Choices Health Digest.
I'm medical reporter Kathy Starling, and this is the Life Choices National Health Digest. Well, even though the war homecomings have been joyous, there were casualties, and our soldiers have faced some traumatic experiences. These could bring about post-traumatic stress disorder, where memories of war cause irritability and depression.
Certainly one of the most worrisome signs or sequelae or consequences of post-traumatic stress is chemical dependence, alcohol abuse, because these memories are flooding back. And you will see things like they will turn off the television, or they'll become more socially isolated, or maybe more irritable with the family.
Even if you didn't agree with the war, Dr. Slidham says national support and pride is necessary for the emotional recovery of our men and women. Well, coronary laser angioplasty, an investigational procedure, may give patients with hardening of the arteries another choice before bypass surgery.
Dr. Barry George and the Riverside Heart Institute of Ohio are taking part in an FDA study to see how effective a laser can be in opening up a totally blocked artery in the heart.
One of the biggest reasons why we will send patients to bypass surgery nowadays is that we can't open 100% blocked arteries. As this technology is perfected, it will enlarge or increase the spectrum of patients that their problem can be solved with non-surgical techniques.
As the laser impulses chip away at the blockage, the screen shows doctors a faint picture of the blood vessel. The guide wire is then put in place to perform the standard balloon angioplasty. The balloon is inflated, and the end result is an open vessel. Dr. George says if proven to be safe with good short and long-term results, the use of laser angioplasty could become yet another way to tackle totally blocked vessels in the heart.
That's today's National Health Digest. I'm Kathy Starling.
Well, still ahead, she's a singing star with a troubled past and a healthy vision for the future. Coming up next, my exclusive interview with Judy Collins.
Life Choices is brought to you by Central Benefits, an innovator in the hospital health industry for more than 50 years.
Our health insurance premiums. Another increase. You're my broker. Tell me how to get this under control.
There's a new product from Central Benefits that's really different. Your employees would be responsible for the smaller dollar routine health care, doctor's visits, prescriptions. Then your insurance would cover the big things like major surgery and hospital stays. Your people would be involved in paying for their health care, and you'll reduce your costs. It's more like what insurance started out to be.
I like the sound of this. This could really help my bottom line.
It's a life choice that Ed McMahon has made, and he hopes others will share it.
I would say adopt. I couldn't love this child anymore if she were my natural child. I mean, I just love her to pieces.
And Wendy's founder, Dave Thomas, feels he's lucky to have been adopted.
You know, adoption is, it's not a dirty word.
Plus, a special tribute to the late Danny Thomas on the next Life Choices.
Riverside Cancer Call.
Yes, my father has colon cancer, and we'd like more.
Do you have a concern about cancer right at this moment? Then phone the Riverside Cancer Call. You'll receive the latest information on treatment, diagnosis, prevention, and support.
Please call the Riverside Cancer Call at 261-4321 and let us help you with your concerns about cancer.
The Kroger Company and Riverside Methodist Hospitals want to help you make healthy choices.
With so many products to choose from, selecting a healthy diet can be confusing. But now shopping is easier at Kroger with help from these nutrition tags. The tags identify foods throughout the store that meet FDA guidelines for low fat, low sodium, and low cholesterol. So the next time you're shopping, look for these nutrition tags and start making healthy choices.
Save on Grade A Park Farms or Country Fresh Tyson chicken breast, now 99 cents a pound.
Well, her career spans more than 3 decades, and singer-songwriter Judy Collins' lyrical style continues to delight audiences. She's probably best known for Send in the Clowns and her rendition of Amazing Grace. But as I talked with her before a recent concert, I found that what was really amazing was her evolution from life in the 60s to life today.
When the world leaves you shivering and the blizzard blows.
The song is called The Blizzard. It's a song of survival. And some would say Judy wrote this song about herself.
It's the story of a woman who's caught in a blizzard and who finds that her renewed confidence and her renewed determination to have a full and exciting life are triggered by the dark time through which she's gone, the storm through which she's come, and the rough weather which she's survived.
She is a survivor of many storms in her life, including a bitter custody battle over her son, throat surgery, as well as numerous bouts with sickness and disease. I'd like to ask you about the ways in which you have overcome obstacles in your own life. Some of the things that you might be able to share that have helped you get through everything from your battle with alcoholism to, you mentioned polio earlier, you've had tuberculosis.
God, no. What a list. Yeah. I don't know if I can stand that so early in the morning.
But the important thing about the list is that you're sitting here now, having come through all that, having been victorious.
Well, you know, I like to think of myself as my dad did, as a person who lives in the solution rather than the problem. All of us have these things that happen to us every day. So what I try to do is to get up and take stock on a daily basis and focus on what's really going well. Fires of Eden is a song about lost innocence and the title track on her latest album, which is her 23rd. Today, Judy Collins says she's at the peak of her career, and what's keeping her there is the very essence of her best life choice. It's the choice to stay focused and to never take her eyes off of her goals. I remember the first few folk songs I ever learned, one of which says, I know where I'm going, and I know who's going with me. I know who I love, but the devil knows who I'll marry. You know, it's a philosophy in a nutshell, in a way. If you know where you're going, if you're a goal-oriented person, at least you know where you're headed.
But you know those fires of Eden still burn in this heart of mine.
Life Choices is brought to you by Riverside Methodist Hospitals.
I'm one of the doctors that works exclusively with eye, ear, nose, and throat, and maxillofacial patients at the Grant Eye and Ear Hospital. Because we work with these patients only, the surgeons develop confidence in our patient care so they can concentrate on the patient's surgery. I think it's because of this specialized care that surgeons like to bring their patients to this facility.
Specialized care at the Eye and Ear Hospital at Grant Medical Center.
You know, last year at this time, I was struggling to keep the company above water. It's not that we didn't do well. It was just the ridiculous cost of covering health care for our staff. My broker found out about a new product from Central Benefits. It isn't anything like our old medical plan. This program makes our employees responsible for paying for their own minor health care. And we pick up the big ticket items like surgeries and hospital stays. This new product saves me thousands of dollars every month. Now I've got time for more important things. It's made all the difference.
Little hands and little feet, 10 fingers and 10 toes, a miracle unfolding, how God only knows. Sometimes we take for granted how fragile life can be, till the fight for mere existence in a child's eyes is seen.
Learn more about your health through Healthy Choices, a program for life from Riverside Methodist Hospitals and Kroger.
Pick up your copy of April's Healthy Choices newsletter at a Kroger checkout.
Well, here's what's coming up next week on Life Choices. You know him as the wizard behind Wendy's success. Dave Thomas has another mission in life, and you'll get the chance to find out what that is. Also, Ed McMahon sharing his best life choices, and we'll have a special tribute to Danny Thomas in a Life Choices interview done right before he died. That's all in the next Life Choices. Until then, I hope that you'll continue to make the choices that make the most of your gift of life. I'll see you next time. Hello, I'm Erie Chapman. Please join me next on AM 1460 WBNS Radio for the Life Choices live call-in radio show. It's on right now from 11 to noon. Please join me in my panel of medical experts. Dial 821-WBNS. That's 821-WBNS with your questions.
You can call Life Choices with your questions and comments at 1-800-441-9559. Again, that's 1-800-441-9559.
This topic is a continuation of the Life Choices television show, and we're live here in the studio from now until noon. We've got a call from Dorothy in Columbus. You're on the air. Life Choices with
Join
Erie
host
Chapman.
Erie Chapman along with Linda Jones, co-director of Lifeline of Ohio, and Dr. Sandy Lane from 11 to noon on AM 1460 WBNS for the Life Choices live call-in radio show. Dial 821-9267 or toll free 1-800-262-0132.
Life Choices with Erie Chapman is a production of Riverside Methodist Hospitals.
Life Choices with Erie Chapman, America's weekly health show. Wherever you live, you need to make good life choices. And here's your host, Erie Chapman.
Hello, I'd like to welcome you today to Life Choices with this important fact. There are approximately 31 million senior citizens in the United States today. Yet our older Americans seem to have become a minority voice. Why is that so? Eastern cultures respect their elderly. Our society often doesn't. Why would that be? Because we're all concerned about growing older. One day, if we're lucky, we'll be part of that older generation. On today's Life Choices, you'll learn about some lifestyle alternatives for the elderly, and we'll meet some senior citizens who've made some good choices. We'll also meet a gerontology doctor who's as old as his patients, but still growing strong. The challenge of growing older on today's Life Choices. But first, here's Kathy Starling with the latest health news. Kathy?
Thanks, Erie. From hurricanes to earthquakes, people in the United States have suffered their share of major disasters in the past few weeks. Not only did hundreds of families lose their homes and belongings, but the terrifying experiences left many feeling they've lost control. Dr. Alan Levy, a psychiatrist, says there is a normal period of grief after any tragedy, lasting from a few days to a few weeks.
There are a number of things that people can do to try to take care of the grief or recover from the sadness on their own. Such things as being around other people, maintaining your social support system, family and friends is very important. And so being around people who you can share the experience with to help you feel that you're not alone.
Returning to a normal routine can be quite effective for a lot of people, but when those strategies fail, it may be useful to talk to someone in the mental health field about what can be done to help the recovery move along. For the 37 million people in the United States suffering from arthritis, a few changes in eating habits could bring them relief. Over 1,000 arthritis sufferers were surveyed, and nearly 20% said a change in their diet changed their condition. Arthritis is an inflammation of the joints that can be crippling. There is no cure, but the recent study points out staying away from certain foods ease the pain. Foods to avoid were red meat, sugar, salt, and caffeine. Instead, eat more vegetables, fruit, fish, and poultry. Although not all of the arthritis sufferers found relief in diet changes, it is an avenue being closely studied. A new variation of Pepsi may be hitting supermarket shelves soon. It's called Pepsi AM. It's got the same Pepsi taste, but with a caffeine boost. Pepsi AM has 24.6 milligrams of caffeine per 6-ounce serving, compared to Pepsi's rival, Coca-Cola Classic, which has 23 milligrams. But in order to get the same buzz as in 1 cup of coffee, you'd have to drink 2 12-ounce cans of Pepsi AM. Former Ohio State University quarterback Art Schleister admitted himself into a Las Vegas hospital that specializes in the treatment of chronic gamblers. 2 years ago, Schleister appeared on Life Choices and said at that time he was struggling to control his addiction and knew there was a difficult road ahead. There are many reasons why a person gambles compulsively, and it often goes undetected by family members for a long time. Group therapy is important in order to make life changes. You can get that support through the local chapter of Gamblers Anonymous. That number can be found in the White Pages business section. Wouldn't it be nice to have a mouth free from cavities? Well, it could be the new wave of the future for our children, thanks to a special plastic coating.
Okay, Alan, today we're going to put some sealants on your teeth.
Meet Dr. David Good. He specializes in dental care for children. He's also a dentist with a mission.
I would like to see, and what the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry would like to see, is in the year 2000 a cavity-free generation.
Dr. Good believes that goal can now be accomplished, thanks to strong support for the use of dental sealants by the National Institutes of Health and the American Dental Association. Here's how sealants work. Because the chewing surfaces of the back teeth often have deep depressions and grooves, called pits and fissures, they're most vulnerable to the bacteria that cause decay. But when the crevices of the back teeth are filled with a sealant, it's nearly impossible for food particles and bacteria to penetrate this thin but tough coating of plastic film. Meantime, patients like Alan Springer have their own way of explaining the process.
They put a filling in my teeth to even out my teeth so that the gunk doesn't get in my teeth and give me cavities.
Whatever the explanation, the procedure is not only simple, but painless. And sealants can last for years. They're also relatively inexpensive. Parents are now requesting sealant coverage in their dental benefit plans at work, something that could allow this generation of children to be cavity-free. If you're over the age of 65, you may have a mouthful of dentures and feel you don't need to visit your dentist anymore. Or if you have your teeth, you may think you won't get any cavities now that you're a senior citizen. Well, dentists say it's time to change your attitude. Regular dental checkups are a must, no matter how old you are. People don't realize fillings can fall out, neglected cavities can lead to root canals, and if it becomes difficult to chew, stomach problems can develop.
Well, basically, the needs for dental care don't change at all. People still need to go in on a regular basis. People still get decay even though they're older, even though some people don't realize that. Gum disease becomes more of a concern. We look at people over 60 or whatever age as no different than someone 16, and they have all of the same needs.
Dr. Kvitko says regular care will allow a person to keep their own teeth, improve their chewing, and be happier all around. Erie, back to you.
Thanks, Kathy. You know, just because you're growing older doesn't mean you should neglect yourself. Americans are living longer, which means more planning for our golden years. We'll take a look at some of the choices when we come back.
Our health insurance premiums. Another increase. You're my broker. Tell me how to get this under control.
There's a new product from Central Benefits that's really different. Your employees would be responsible for the smaller dollar routine health care, doctor's visits, prescriptions. Then your insurance would cover the big things like major surgery and hospital stays. Your people would be involved in paying for their health care, and you'll reduce your costs. It's more like what insurance started out to be.
I like the sound of this. This could really help my bottom line.
Why should older adults suffer from incontinence when it's often an easily managed problem?
The Riverside Minute, presented as a public service by the staff of one of America's finest hospitals.
Incontinence, the uncontrolled leakage of urine, affects 15 to 30% of adults 65 years and older. It's a vast problem. However, it's one that here at Riverside we can now successfully treat. Contrary to popular belief, incontinence does not have to be a natural part of aging. There are often medical problems that can contribute to its cause, and with the help of medication, surgery, or even over-the-counter products, the situation can be manageable for the patient and their caregivers. If you suffer from incontinence, see your family physician first. He or she may then refer you to a urological specialist. If you'd like more information, call the Riverside Health Line.
A public service from the staff of Riverside.
Riverside Methodist Hospitals and the Kroger Company want to help you make healthy choices.
Whether your goal is to compete in the Columbus Marathon or just to feel better about yourself, running is one way you can commit to get fit.
The key to a consistent running program is patience. Take your time, start slowly, and commit to get fit. And let's go to the Columbus Marathon.
Save on assorted Healthy Choices dinners, now $2.99.
You know, it's funny how no one seems to want to think about growing old, even though that day will surely come for most of us. What will happen to you? Will you leave your children to decide, or will you plan for those golden years?
Here you are, Bob. Here's one you missed over here, a real nice one. And there's one down there. Do you want this one?
Yeah.
They had always been an outgoing couple, independent and active. But since Bob and Ethel Sparrow had no children, they wanted some security for their retirement years.
It's the sort of thing, Kathy, I don't think people give it much thought until the time comes. In other words, they don't plan ahead for it. It's, oh, it'll never happen to me, but it does.
Do you feel your quality of life is tremendous here?
Oh, yes. People said to us when we came, when they knew we were coming, well, why do you want to go there? You're not sick. And what they don't realize is this is a different lifestyle that you can pursue and enjoy until the time comes when you do need help.
Both Bob and Ethel liked the idea that there were more activities than any one person could participate in, from musical programs to trips to regular card games.
I wanted someplace where he could be happy with his woodworking and gardening. He's a very avid gardener, and so that's another reason we knew they had gardens here and a woodworking shop, and we're very happy.
Bob and Helen Van Horn wanted to plan their lives so their children wouldn't be burdened with caring for them. They realized there was too much house and felt a real sense of community at the retirement village.
I think we came to the decision about the same time, don't you?
I think so.
And
we had thought sometime before, and then we kind of dropped it and said, well, it isn't time yet. You know, that's kind of the usual saying, it isn't time. But it got to be a point when it was time.
A lot of people say, thank God it's Friday, and nobody says, thank God I'm a week older. But 52 of those, and you're a year older. And, you know, 520 of those, you're 10 years older. So it does happen, and we're all going to get older. It's part of the game.
Both the Sparrows and the Van Horns have the security of a pool court in their apartment where they can quickly get help. And they have the assurance that if the time comes when one or both of them need full-time nursing care, they can move right into the village health center.
In looking around and dealing with the people who live here every day, it's very, very reassuring to know that there are options around for people that want to ensure their future and be able to continue to be active for as long as possible. Even if they are at the point where they can't drive any longer, they can be sure that they can go to the Symphony or go down to the new City Center Mall and have transportation and activities, and also know that if the time comes where they need health care, it's available for them.
It's said you can live longer when you can relax and enjoy today and not worry about tomorrow. These couples agree.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that segment, giving you a chance to look inside a retirement village. I told you earlier in the program that you'd have the chance to meet a gerontology doctor who's as old as his patients and still going strong. And he's going strong right next to me. Dr. Vincent, good to have you with us.
Thank you, sir.
You're 77 years old, about the same age as some of your patients, and I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about the quality of life which patients, which individuals have when they pass age 65, that period of infirmity.
Yeah.
that some people have. What does that mean, infirmity?
Well, infirmity means any sort of disability which requires assistance in living.
For example?
For example, a person with a stroke. Somebody may have a stroke at age 65, 68 years of age, but still live to be 80 years of age. During that period, it's very difficult for them to achieve much quality of life.
Now, how can they minimize the chance that that period of infirmity will last so long? Can they do it first?
I think there are a number of things we know now that can minimize this period of infirmity, such as keeping one's weight down, having an exercise program, no smoking, and what I like to think of as some sort of tranquility of their life.
Mental tranquility?
Mental tranquility. And this is done by having an intense interest in something. And golf is a good example of that. Some of the elderly folks have an intense interest in golf and anticipate it the night before, go out and play a game the next day, and then look forward to the next day.
There's something else that's going to happen in your life, because not only have you been spending all these years caring for other people as a physician, but you're going to get the chance to celebrate your 50th anniversary soon.
Yes, well, we're going to fly to London, have a couple of nights in London to see some plays, then we're getting on the Orient Express, going into France, through the Alps, and winding up in Vienna, at which time then we'll fly home. But we're very excited about this.
The Orient Express part is what excites me. I think that's just got to be one of the most wonderful things that I could imagine. Well, thanks, Dr. Vincent. Later, you're going to have the chance to see some incredible stories of some older athletes. But first, what is going on here? Will the real kids please step forward?
Riverside Methodist Hospitals and the Kroger Company want to help you make healthy choices.
Whether your goal is to compete in the Columbus Marathon or just to feel better about yourself, running is one way you can commit to get fit.
The key to a consistent running program is patience. Take your time, start slowly, and commit to get fit. And let's go to the Columbus Marathon.
Save on assorted varieties of Stouffer's White Course entrees, just $2.49.
Drinking is affecting your career, family, and friends. You're struggling, trying to quit, but haven't quite found the way. For a change in your life, call Riverside's Alcohol and Drug Dependency Services at 261-4718. We can help you take the necessary steps to living a life free of alcohol. Through Riverside, there is hope for achieving a more comfortable life. Call now at 261-4718. Let us help you make the rest of your life the best of your life.
Please get a pencil ready, because we'd like to hear from you at Life Choices. If you need more information or would like a videotape of this program, please contact Life Choices at P.O. Box 555, Columbus, Ohio 43216. Or you can call toll-free 1-800-441-9559. That's 1-800-441-9559. In the Columbus area, call 261-LIFE. We welcome your comments and suggestions.
My mother was a farm wife, and when my father died, I asked her if she would like to come to live with me.
Mary Ann Shump is a teacher. Like many, she wanted to help her mother, but she couldn't be with her constantly. Thanks to United Way Agency, her mother receives a hot meal every day. That means Mary Ann can keep on teaching. 90 cents of every dollar goes to programs like this. Mary Ann now has hope, and that is where the heart is. Please open your heart to the United Way.
The oldest Americans and the youngest ones. We found a daycare center in Chicago that shows how these two groups can benefit each other.
They come in by car, truck, van, and bus, with family and friends as helping hands. It's like morning assembly in high school, but with a twist.
The easiest way to describe it is that it's the children who are in the child care program that's sponsored by the system and the older adults in our daycare program having fun and enjoying each other.
The day begins like romper room. Bend and stretch to limber up and get ready for the activities ahead.
Why don't you have a seat right here, okay?
Next, enter the other half of the group for some arts and crafts.
When those children come into the room, they attend. The older adults that don't pay attention or aren't motivated to be involved in a whole lot of things, respond to children in a way that they don't respond to very much else.
Being creative and imaginative gives both ends of the age group a chance to exercise their minds.
The adults themselves very often say that it makes them feel young again. It makes them feel wonderful to see all the enthusiasm that the children bring. It's very hard to say no to a child that's climbing up onto your lap.
Her name is Tally, and she's a nice little girl.
And I like to make some puppets.
And she likes to make puppets.
Okay, I'm going to call a name. Ready? And then you go back to your chair. 1, 2, 3. Willie! Go under the parachute.
The workout continues with games to test coordination and to have fun, too.
Do you think an adult could do this? No, I don't know. I bet you Ruth could. I bet you Ruth could. We'll call Ruth's name, okay? 1, 2, 3. Ruth! Come on! Okay. There's another one. Ruthie. Here you go. Okay. I wonder if she would go under at one time. Let's give Ruthie a hand for that.
The parachute game was something that doesn't demand too much. You know, there's not a success ratio. You don't have to worry about failing or making a finished project, and the children just come in and enjoy themselves, like the music, and have fun with the older people. Big hugs. Big hugs. Come on, we can do that. Right over there. Big hugs. Come on, Sammy, you can do that. Willie, go get some big hugs. Come on, there you go. The older adults give an unconditional love to the children. You know, they don't ask any questions, they don't make any demands. And I think the children know that.
We love them, you know. We give them big kisses and everything else.
I love children. I think they like me, too.
The children become used to wheelchairs, walkers, and canes. They know there's nothing to be frightened of, and that it's okay to be old.
That was a really interesting segment, Kathy, and I just wonder, in looking at it, why more adult daycare centers don't use the concept of having adults and kids together.
I would think that the reason is because daycare centers and adult daycare centers usually aren't in the same vicinity. So to try and get them together would be quite expensive.
There may also, there's the cost element, I suppose, but still it seems so useful. In looking at those adults and little kids working with each other, playing back and forth, I wonder if, as Dr. Vincent implied, it actually helps their physical health.
I think it does. You know, a lot of the people that we talk to need that socialization, and this is one way for them to get it, not only with adults, but with younger kids, and that keeps them younger.
Good. Thanks, Kathy, for that segment. And also, next, you're going to have the chance to meet some really incredible older athletes. Be sure and stay with us.
Now, you may think you're looking at the same old Robert Klein, but this is the new, improved Robert Klein. I gave up smoking, and I am a new man. No, don't ask me to take a deep breath. My doctor did, and I vacuumed up half his office. Seriously, when you smoke, every little can damage your lungs. That's why I stopped. Like the American Lung Association says, take care of your lungs. They're only human. Glad I gave up smoking, fellas? They're glad.
The American Lung Association, the Christmas seal people.
Triplets is just a totally different experience.
Susan Dugan and her husband know about having triplets. Kathy Reese and her husband are about to find out, and so will you on the next Life Choices. Please join me.
It's just round the clock. I mean, you're just constant.
The challenges of raising triplets and of having those triplets. Is it worth it?
I do it again. I wouldn't trade one of them for anything.
Riverside Methodist Hospitals and the Kroger Company want to help you make healthy choices.
Whether your goal is to compete in the Columbus Marathon or just to feel better about yourself, running is one way you can commit to get fit.
The key to a consistent running program is patience. Take your time, start slowly, and commit to get fit. And let's go to the Columbus Marathon.
Save on Kroger regular or cherry flavor nighttime cold medicine, now $2.29.
You know, last year at this time, I was struggling to keep the company above water. It's not that we didn't do well. It was just the ridiculous cost of covering health care for our staff. My broker found out about a new product from Central Benefits. It isn't anything like our old medical plan. This program makes our employees responsible for paying for their own minor health care. And we pick up the big ticket items like surgeries and hospital stays. This new product saves me thousands of dollars every month. Now I've got time for more important things. It's made all the difference.
Think of senior citizens for a moment. What's the picture that comes to your mind? Do you see scenes of rocking chairs and tired bodies slumped over canes? Well, as we approach a new decade, a new era of senior citizens is emerging. It's a group of athletes that paints a positive, more progressive outlook for those years we call golden.
Set. That's the way. There we go, Bert.
That's great. A lot of fun. Harold Wagner is 66 years old, so who says you have to act your age?
I enjoy sports. It keeps me alert and I feel young. I never think of my age. I'm 77 years old, but I feel like a 25-year-old.
Though they're young at heart, the Senior Olympics isn't kid stuff. The participants take these events very seriously, to the point of winning medals and breaking records.
This is a silver medal I won in the 50-meter dash here in the Senior Olympics this year.
7.5 second 50 meter is one of the better times in the United States. That's a good time for almost 80 years old.
Actually, Herman, that's a great time for almost 80 years old. But Herman's age is nothing compared to some of the other Olympians.
I just turned 96 years old last Thursday.
That's terrific. And what are you doing out here today?
Well, I'm doing the shot put and also the 50-yard dash, and I think I'll do the 100.
The men aren't the only medal winners here today. The women are equally competitive.
Started off with horseshoes, and I came in bronze. Then I went to ping pong, and got bronze. Then swimming, I got the gold in all events. Let's see, back, breast, free, butterfly. Then I did the 200 butterfly and the individual medley. So I got a gold in all of them.
All this while nursing a sore hip. And then there's Rose, who's had both her knees replaced.
I also have 4 gold in swimming, a bronze in dart, and then I got the 2 gold in this 50-yard dash and the 100-yard dash.
Why do they push themselves so hard, especially during their golden years?
I'm going to get older, but I'm not going to get aged. You know, I don't want to last forever, I just want to last well.
I hope you were as impressed by that group as I was. I couldn't help but think of my own dad, who's still athletic at age 84. And I hope the people you've met today have dispelled some of the myths about older people. They may seem like a unique bunch, but not because they're a selective few. These seniors are special because they've made the decision to take a positive outlook. Some of them, due to failing health, have made other choices, like independence or planning for the future of their own health care. But they've all made a life choice on how to live out the remainder of their years. I hope their stories have helped you with your own choices for your golden years. While we focus today on those in their later years of life, next week's program features those whose lives have just begun. Make sure and watch next week because you'll meet 2 sets of triplets and discover not 1, not 2, but 3 newborns. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you'll choose to have a good week. See you with the triplets next time.
1, 2, 3, Willie! Go under the
In the weeks to come, Life Choices is bringing you some very special guests. Noted child care expert Dr. T. Barry Brazelton with advice for parenting today. Bob Keeshan, known better to most of us as Captain Kangaroo, takes us back to the days of Dancing Bear, Bunny Rabbit, and Mr. Moose. And Phyllis Diller, comedienne extraordinaire, who shares her secrets for looking young. Check your local listings and mark your calendars for these life choices.
Life Choices is brought to you by Central Benefits, an innovator in the hospital health insurance industry for more than 50 years. And by Riverside Methodist Hospitals.
You can't possibly be ready for triplets.
Triplets is just a totally different experience.
3-year-old triplets and parents expecting triplets on the next Life Choices.
Face the world with a smile and give it your best shot.
Today on Life Choices.
If you can afford it, and if it's not going to adversely affect your career, you really ought to do it, dads.
Meet Scott Hare, a full-time father making the choice to stay home with his sons.
I'm Nadine Jelsing reporting from Coopersville, Michigan. The farm behind me is run by the mentally handicapped. We'll tell you why this peaceful way of life is now rocked in controversy.
She looks like a model, and in fact she is. Emma Schmidt is a model, and a model patient crusading against cancer. These stories, plus baseball great Jim Palmer, sharing his secrets of success, coming up next on Life Choices. Hello, I'm Erie Chapman. We begin today with a story that embraces a controversial question. It's an ethical dilemma that's faced our nation for nearly a century. What do we do with the mentally ill and disabled people in our society? Our medical reporter Nadine Jelsing reports from Michigan on one community's choice about dealing with one of society's most significant challenges.
In the rural countryside of Michigan, farms are plentiful. But tucked 20 miles northwest of Grand Rapids is a very special farm. This is Community Haven, home to 60 physically and mentally handicapped people. We arrived just in time for breakfast.
Yeah. I think anyone that spends any time here realizes that there's a real closeness. There's a real family atmosphere, kind of an extended family, sharing and caring for each other, and a community within a community.
Community Haven is a 265-acre working dairy farm. Partially subsidized by county funds, the farm generates most of its money selling milk and eggs. Everyone here has a job to do.
Someone has a dog to walk, a dog to feed. Somebody's responsible to get the eggs to feed the chickens, so that they're in essence contributing rather than always being contributed to. And I think that's probably some of the most positive things that go on here.
37-year-old Mark Vandertynes lived here for 3 years. As a small child, Mark suffered permanent brain damage in a fall. He grew up on the family farm, and now his favorite chore here is milking the cows. What time do you get up?
4 o'clock.
In the morning?
Yep. Go to the barn, milk cows.
What do you like about Community Haven? What do you like about this farm?
I like to walk on there every day.
You have a regular job to go to every day,
Yeah.
don't you? Do the animals mean a lot to you?
I like to walk with the animals every day. It's a very therapeutic environment. I think they find companionship, affection. I think it improves their self-esteem to know that they're needed on a daily basis. And I don't know, there's just something about working with animals. There's that unconditional love.
That's the male, that's the female. Mary Kelly's lived here for 20 years. Her job is to raise parakeets for local pet stores. What do you do with all these birds?
I take care of them every night. Sweep the floor. I do it on the weekend. I sweep the floor, make sure they got feed and water. That's a little baby. I just love them.
Are you happy here, Mary?
Yes, I am.
Community Haven sounds like a peaceful and productive way of life, but critics say this farm is a step backwards to a time when the mentally handicapped were institutionalized in an isolated environment.
My fear is, just being a student of history, that these good intentions will result in people who have special needs being put apart from society, and then when the funds are not there to support a good quality of life, it'll be easy to cut it because you don't see it.
Bauer believes that people with disabilities can and should be living in our neighborhoods, in smaller, community-based homes. Without a mix of role models, she says there's no one to challenge their abilities and maybe inspire them to an independent life. Staff members say residents are given many choices and many opportunities for mainstreaming into the community. Many attend school during the day, and there are frequent field trips, shopping trips, and dinners hosted by the local church. For Mark, this is home, and this is his room, filled with favorite treasures.
What else? What about those ribbons there? You win all those in the Olympics too?
Yep.
For running?
Yep.
Mark's parents, Sid and Donna, visit often. They say Community Haven has been good for Mark.
Well, he's becoming a lot more independent. When we first took Mark away, it was the hardest thing I ever did. But today, it was the best thing I ever did. I should have done it years before.
It was a good choice?
Mm-hmm.
A hard choice. Very hard, but a good one.
Critics say all the attention on this farm and others like it is good too. It's raising important questions about the kinds of choices we offer some very special people in our society.
What's wrong with giving the mentally handicapped a place to live and work?
Well, nothing is really wrong with Community Haven. I think the question might be, what could be better?
I guess I say that, you know, we're not the answer for every person. This isn't the environment for everyone, but it's an option that we feel that ought to be available.
Community Haven will continue its efforts at caring for people, yet rising costs and the controversy you just heard about are prompting a review of its goals and services. Well, now we go to Salt Lake City for the incredible story of Emma Schmidt. This young woman always dreamed of being a model. But last year, Emma was diagnosed with bone cancer. Well, that might have stopped some young people, but not Emma. Against the odds, she's turning her dream into reality.
1, 2, 3.
Today, friends and family of Emma Schmidt are sharing with her in a celebration of life.
It don't matter if you have no hair, 'cause people with hair.
Songs and games, as well as a little silliness, mark the end of Emma's year-long chemotherapy treatment, a very aggressive attempt to kill cancer cells that were growing in her ribs. She's weathered the storm well, but there were times when Emma needed every bit of strength to have the will to continue.
You just get really depressed that you have to go to the hospital every 3 weeks and you know you're going to be throwing up and things like that.
Most kids, Emma included, just want to give up, I think. They just want to sort of say, I just don't want to put up with this stuff anymore. There's no guarantee that it's going to cure your disease or whatnot. And I think just about every teenager going through it have those sort of feelings. And then what they do is you talk to them, you explain to them what the alternatives are, and then they sort of realize that they must do it. And Emma did that, and she's done very, very well. A much-needed and generous gift of human compassion lifted Emma's spirits. Make-A-Wish Foundation granted her a chance to live out a dream.
And they came and talked to me and asked me what my wish would be, and I said I wanted to take modeling classes.
So at a time when Emma not only lost her hair, but also a little of her self-esteem, along comes the opportunity to let her inner and outer beauty shine. Take a look at Emma now.
It's really fun, but you never knew, like when you looked at the picture, how much hard work it is, you know, sitting in the same place for hours and stuff just to get one good picture.
You can see in Emma's face what a thrill it is to have these professionals give of themselves. They're donating their time and talent to brighten not only Emma's life, but also the lives of her entire family.
Having all these people work with Emma and teach her and show her things, you could tell that they were sincere in their reaction to her, that she was good. And it was fun for us to watch that.
It was a lot of fun. It was a really positive experience for me. All the photographers and makeup artists donated all their time, and the models worked with me a lot on my walking and putting on makeup and stuff.
Even the professionals say Emma's portfolio is New York quality. She's already been featured on the cover of 2 magazines and is being offered more modeling jobs. Doctors now say Emma is cancer-free. She has a renewed zest for life and is encouraging others to beat the odds.
You know, you take it one day at a time and it gets better. It always gets better.
Well, still ahead, on the celebrity page, it's baseball great Jim Palmer with a new pitch, education. In the health report, help in making food choices for your children. And in our Family Matters segment, this dad's making the choice to stay home and raise the kids.
Life Choices is brought to you as a public service by Riverside Methodist Hospitals.
Bank One, the bank that introduced America's first 24-hour banking machine back in the 70s, recently asked its customers what new service they wanted from a bank in the 90s. And while Bank One can't do everything they ask, we will do whatever it takes to please our customers. Within reason.
When you're storming the aisles, there's no time to decode labels. Kroger reads them for you.
Oh, look at her. She looks terrific.
Hello, I'm low fat.
How are you? I'm no sodium. And I'm no cholesterol. We're pleased to make your acquaintance.
Our color code system helps you make a healthy choice in a flash.
Kroger and Riverside Methodist Hospitals are bending over backwards to take care of you.
Pick up this month's Healthy Choices newsletter at your Kroger checkout.
1 woman in 9 will develop breast cancer sometime in her lifetime. That woman should do everything she can to detect that disease in its earliest stages to give herself the best chance for survival.
The Riverside Minute, presented by the staff of one of America's finest hospitals.
There's always hope. We can do so much nowadays with breast cancer. A woman also needs to be a partner in this approach. She needs to obtain mammograms at routine intervals and to practice accurate breast self-examinations on a monthly basis. If a woman does detect a lump in her breast, the first thing she should do is not to panic. Most lumps detected in breasts by women or by physicians are not cancer. The survival for breast cancer that's caught early is excellent, and there's just no other way to say it.
A public service from the staff of Riverside, celebrating a century of healing. Riverside. In our Family Matters segment today, a parenting choice focusing on fathers. First, consider these statistics. American fathers take off an average of just 3.5 days after the birth of a child. Economic and societal pressures are most likely the reasons why. Only 22% of the Fortune 500 companies offer paternity leave. But even in those companies, fewer than 2% of fathers choose to take substantial time off. In New Jersey, Life Choices reporter Susan Levitt found a father who's a special exception.
Okay, we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye, Wes.
Unlike most families, every weekday Scott Hare stays home with the kids while his wife Lori goes to work. Scott chose to take 9 months of paternity leave from his job as a technician at Bell Labs to take care of 1-year-old Wesley and 3-year-old Brian.
We thought that no one could really watch them as well as we could. And one of us should be home. And since my wife makes more than I do, we thought that she should be the one to continue earning while I should stay home with the children.
Get over there.
I think that's a bird.
Though more companies are offering unpaid leave to fathers than ever before, few men take advantage of it. Unlike the Hares, many couples can't survive on the wife's salary alone. Others see child-rearing as woman's work, and men are often afraid that taking paternity leave will send a signal to management that they're not totally committed to their jobs. But Scott made the choice to put his family first and career second.
If I was in a 9-to-5 job, I'd probably see Wesley for about an hour and a half in the evening. Right now, I've got him for 24 hours a day, and I see everything. I see him crawling up steps. I see him just about ready to start climbing out of his crib. I see it all.
James A. Levine, director of the Fatherhood Project at the Families and Work Institute in New York City, has been studying at-home dads.
We're not in the midst of a revolution here, but it's an evolution. There are still, the men who do this are still pioneers.
Maybe if we had a peanut butter sandwich, you would feel better. Would you feel better with a peanut butter sandwich? You would?
I think that his staying home with the boys will have a really positive impact on them. Hopefully that they will remember a very caring, loving, supportive father because of this. Hi, honey.
It's all about choices is the key thing, and the more we can extend choices or allow for more flexibility so that women and men can make choices, the whole idea of extending leave options to men should really extend the choices for women. Not every woman wants to be the one who stays home, even though most do. So the more we can make it possible for families to make the choices that they want to make, the more we're going to make for healthy families and a healthy society.
Scott has some advice for couples contemplating paternity leave.
If you can afford it, and if it's not going to adversely affect your career, you really ought to do it, dads.
And now with news of particular interest to parents and some other news, Christy Perry has the National Health Report.
You can see how they're eating when they're at home, but when your kids are at school, they could be taking a course in junk food. To make sure they're eating right, the experts offer these reminders. Fill their lunch bags with the 4 food groups. Dietitians say lean meats, starches, vegetables, and low-sugar sweets like graham crackers or ginger snaps will provide your youngster with well-balanced lunches. Don't skimp too much on their fats while they're still growing. Their bodies need certain fatty acids for development. Most of all, the experts say, let them have a vote on what goes in the feed bag.
It's important for them to be able to choose, but the parents have control of what to offer them as far as their choices.
Your healthy food choices, like using margarine instead of butter, plain yogurt instead of sour cream, will set good examples for your children early in life. If your baby has a cold when she gets her measles, mumps, rubella shot, she may not be well protected from measles. Doctors at the Madigan Army Medical Center in Tacoma, Washington, studied infants who had bad colds when they received their MMR vaccinations. About 20% of the babies did not develop resistance to the measles. If you're unsure when to have your child vaccinated, check with your pediatrician. The 90s began with a boom. More than 4 million babies were born in 1990, the most in this country since 1964, when the other baby boom ended. Today's mothers-to-be are adding a new twist to their pregnancies. They're getting healthy even before they conceive. It's called the 12-month pregnancy, and there is a calendar available to women planning to have children. The Great Beginnings calendar is available from your local dairy council. Call us for information on how to receive one. Waking up is sometimes hard to do, but for millions of Americans, falling asleep is even harder. About 29 million people over age 65 suffer from some disruption of their sleep, according to medical research done at the University of Connecticut. Before, people with sleep disorders had to go to a hospital sleep clinic for observation and treatment. Now, doctors can use a home device to screen for sleep problems. If you're having trouble falling asleep, the experts say it's best to get out of bed and read or do something until you're drowsy. You may not even realize it, but you could be drinking that first cup of coffee in the morning because you're addicted to the caffeine. University of Vermont researchers tested 2 groups of coffee drinkers, gave them regular and decaf. No one knew which was which. Those who drank decaffeinated suffered actual withdrawal symptoms, headaches, drowsiness, and fatigue. Those who drank the real thing developed muscle tremors, anxiety, and insomnia. Doctors say to avoid these symptoms, don't drink more than 4 cups of coffee a day. That's today's National Health Report. I'm Christy Perry.
Still ahead, Hall of Famer Jim Palmer on his best choices from the past, the present, and the future.
Life Choices is brought to you by Central Benefits, an innovator in the hospital health industry for more than 50 years.
Our health insurance premiums. Another increase. You're my broker. Tell me how to get this under control.
There's a new product from Central Benefits that's really different. Your employees would be responsible for the smaller dollar routine health care, doctor's visits, prescriptions. Then your insurance would cover the big things like major surgery and hospital stays. Your people would be involved in paying for their health care, and you'll reduce your costs. It's more like what insurance started out to be.
I like the sound of this. This could really help my bottom line.
When you're storming the aisles, there's no time to decode labels. Kroger reads them for you.
Oh, look at her. She looks terrific.
Hello, I'm low fat.
How are you? I'm no sodium. And I'm no cholesterol. We're pleased to make your acquaintance.
Our color code system helps you make a healthy choice in a flash.
Kroger and Riverside Methodist Hospitals are bending over backwards to take care of you.
Pick up this month's Healthy Choices newsletter at your Kroger checkout.
I think it would be a terrible invasion of privacy to require that doctors or patients disclose their HIV status if they personally feel that they don't wish to do so.
What do you think? Would you want to know if your doctor had AIDS? Plus, she has the courage and the persistence to expose con artists. Florida TV reporter Ellen McFarlane also has the strength to face her multiple sclerosis. That's all on the next Life Choices with Erie Chapman.
Little hands and little feet, 10 fingers and 10 toes, a miracle unfolding, how God only knows. Sometimes we take for granted how fragile life can be, till the fight for mere existence in a child's eyes is seen.
Well, in his prime, he could fire his blazing fastball by the best of hitters with confidence that only one word would pass the umpire's lips: strike. Hall of Famer Jim Palmer was the ultimate pitching hero. And today, this man stars on the celebrity page for batting 1,000 in his Life Choices. For nearly 20 years, Hall of Famer Jim Palmer turned heads on the baseball diamond. He's received 3 Cy Young Awards, and he's the youngest pitcher ever to pitch a World Series shutout game. But of course, he may be equally well known for turning heads with his surprising jockey underwear ads. Today, rather than turning heads, Jim is trying to fill some heads with knowledge. He's promoting a new choice in learning that involves baseball cards.
Give you an example. If we were going to talk about your favorite player, and it happened to be Jose Canseco, we could talk about the fact that Jose was born in Miami, but originally from Cuba, at least as his family was from Cuba. Instead of just having vague numbers when you're trying to do multiplication and division, you could compute what his batting average and use numbers that indicate what he would hit.
A baseball card manufacturer is marketing this idea, so look for the program to show up in your school or library soon. It's been almost 8 years since Jim played professional baseball with the Baltimore Orioles. He tried a comeback this year, but a pulled hamstring was enough to convince him to hang up his cleats for good. Yet at age 45, Jim is still active. He's a color commentator for the Orioles Baseball Network, and he's making all the right choices to stay in shape, not for baseball, but for life.
I kind of subscribe to what the American Medical Association says. I try to eat a lot of fiber. I don't eat a lot of beef. You know, if I do drink alcohol, have a glass of wine, I do it in moderation, and I don't smoke. I have a physical once a year. I do everything that I think is going to physically help me, and then emotionally, what I try to do is to come up with things that are challenging. I think it would be very easy for somebody that, you know, played baseball and has a terrific pension plan or whatever to kind of kick back and not create challenges in your life, but that's not the way I choose to live my life, and I'd like to think a lot of people are right along with me on that.
With the glory days of his baseball career now behind him, Jim Palmer is committed to making the choices that keep his life full and fulfilled.
I think that by the time you get to be 40 or 50, you should
You should get in touch with what makes you happy and what's important in your life and what longevity is all about. And again, there's no guarantees in life, but I think the thing that I try to do in my baseball career is something that I try to do now, which is try to cover all my bases.
Life Choices is brought to you as a public service by Riverside Methodist Hospitals.
At Grant Laser Center, about half the procedures that we do are for the Grant Eye and Ear Hospital. There are many people that are unfamiliar with lasers. We bring them in, show them the equipment, and explain to them that the procedure is efficient and safe. I consider myself a patient advocate. The more I know, the more I can help my patients.
Specialized care at the Eye and Ear Hospital at Grant Medical Center.
When you're storming the aisles, there's no time to decode labels. Kroger reads them for you.
Oh, look at her. She looks terrific.
Hello, I'm low fat.
How are you? I'm no sodium.
And I'm no cholesterol. We're pleased to make your acquaintance.
Our color code system helps you make a healthy choice in a flash.
Kroger and Riverside Methodist Hospitals are bending over backwards to take care of you.
Pick up this month's Healthy Choices newsletter at your Kroger checkout.
You know, last year at this time, I was struggling to keep the company above water. Yeah, it's not that we didn't do well. It was just the ridiculous cost of covering health care for our staff. My broker found out about a new product from Central Benefits. It isn't anything like our old medical plan. This program makes our employees responsible for paying for their own minor health care. And we pick up the big ticket items like surgeries and hospital stays. This new product saves me thousands of dollars every month. Now I've got time for more important things. It's made all the difference.
Riverside Cancer Call.
Yes, my father has colon cancer, and we'd like more.
Do you have a concern about cancer right at this moment? Then phone the Riverside Cancer Call. You'll receive the latest information on treatment, diagnosis, prevention, and support.
Please call the Riverside Cancer Call at 261-4321 and let us help you with your concerns about cancer.
This topic is a continuation of the Life Choices television show, and we're live here in the studio from now until noon. We've got a call from Dorothy in Columbus. You're on the air.
Join host Erie Chapman and a panel of physicians on the Life Choices live call-in radio show on AM 1460 WBNS from 11 to noon. Call in with your questions on kids and cancer or any general medical questions you may have. Dial 821-WBNS or toll free 1-800-262-0132.
Do you consider stress to be a major issue in your life? If you answer yes, please join us at this same time next week. We'll give you some coping tools from our visit to a unique stress reduction program in Boston. Then join me in Florida to meet a television reporter whose own story encourages others to go against the odds. In the meantime, I hope that you'll decide to make the choices that will bring you a successful life in the week ahead. I'm Erie Chapman, and I'll see you next week on Life Choices. Hello, I'm Erie Chapman. Please join me next on AM 1460 WBNS Radio for the Life Choices live call-in radio show. It's on right now from 11 to noon. Please join me in my panel of medical experts. Dial 821-WBNS. That's 821-WBNS with your questions.
If you'd like more information about the stories you've seen today on Life Choices, call us at 1-800-441-9559. That number again is 1-800-441-9559. Life Choices is a production of Riverside Methodist Hospitals.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Sullivan.
And I'm Erie Chapman. Welcome to Life Choices.
Could you die? Susan Powder. If you don't know who she is, or if you've never seen her, well, hold on tight.
I want them to see me. Just see me. Look in the see me. This is me. I'm not doing this because the reporter's in the room and because there's a camera on me. This is me.
Early menopause. Millions of women are going through it, but try getting some doctors to believe you.
When I told him about my symptoms, and he told me that I was too young to be going through menopause, and put his hand on my shoulder and said, T, I wish all the women I see who are 4 years old are as happy and healthy as you are, I burst into tears.
This is Life Choices with Erie Chapman, Kathleen Sullivan, and America's Health Team.
She's America's crew-cut guru, Susan Powder. If you've ever watched TV in the middle of the night, you know who she is. Well, we'll be trying to stop the insanity ourselves a little later on.
But first, it seems like it's in everything, from vitamins to Jell-O, from diet sodas to chewing gum. NutraSweet, or its generic name aspartame, is an artificial sweetener that you'd think has stood the test of time.
But some people have been calling this artificial sweetener more of a bitter pill than a dieter's delight. Here's Life Choices correspondent Jennifer Laird.
I just had lunch, and I just fell out on the floor and had a seizure, and the next thing I remember, I woke up in the neurologist's office on my way to the hospital.
When the seizures came and wouldn't stop, Larry Taylor had to give up his job as a nurse anesthetist for 2 years. His neurologist looked for an explanation and couldn't find one. Finally, as a last resort,
we did discontinue the ingestion of NutraSweet, and I've never had any other problems since then.
call it NutraSweet equals spoonfuls or just plain aspartame, Larry Taylor and many others call it trouble.
I would get a migraine headache that was so bad it would put me down on the bed with the lights out.
Primarily, I was experiencing blackouts, my vision almost like a tunnel vision. I would have raging headaches.
200 million people use it, more than 5,000 products contain it, and the Food and Drug Administration has received more than 6,000 complaints about it. Aspartame is the most complained about food additive in history.
It's a lot of complaints.
It seems like it is, yes, but I think if you compare that number of complaints with the number of individuals that use aspartame, the fact that we have 6,300 complaints is not a very high proportion of the total possible.
The FDA knows all about the complaints that range from headaches and vision problems to seizures and acute depression. And so does NutraSweet's Dr. Robert Moser. He says, sure, there are complaints, but a complaint isn't the same as medical evidence.
Everything that we hear is on the basis of impression, anecdote, hearsay, personal opinion. But we live and die by the gold standard of medicine, the controlled study.
NutraSweet says that its product is the most tested in history, and it is. The company cites 200 different studies, all with results indicating product safety. But what most people don't know is that the NutraSweet company paid for almost every study. Doesn't it strike you as odd that you rely on research provided by the very people who stand to profit from your approval?
I think that that's a legitimate comment or question. I think the best way to answer it is that actually this is the way the system has always worked.
I think that's like asking the fox to guard the chicken coop.
Independent researcher Dr. Ralph Walton says when you mix objectivity with funding, you're looking for trouble.
When individuals receive their funding from a company, that is going to bias the findings. Even well-intentioned individuals, I think on some subtle level, the results are going to be biased by the source of the funding.
Following FDA process, NutraSweet paid for all its research, as does every other drug, food additive, and medical device company. But the process is clearly not foolproof. The makers of silicone breast implants had been warned of possible problems with the product by a company researcher. They never told the FDA, and the implants were approved, resulting in thousands of health nightmares. So aware of the growing complaints, NutraSweet tried to guarantee some objectivity by funding a study looking at the headache allegations. Researchers at Duke University were chosen to design the study and carry it out.
We were very nervous about how this was going to come out. This was a really beautifully done, controlled study. And the conclusion of that study was that in this group of 40 people who had been convinced that aspartame caused their headache, there was no statistical difference between the two groups. And the conclusion was that aspartame in that group did not cause headache.
Those same conclusions were challenged by independent researchers who publicly questioned that study's methods and findings, suggesting that more testing was necessary. Incidentally, the name of Duke's lab where those studies were done is called the Searle Center, named after its principal supporter and NutraSweet's parent company, G.D. Searle. Dr. Walton's study wasn't funded by NutraSweet, and he found that people with histories of depression clearly have physiological reactions to aspartame.
I think we need a different system. I think that medical research needs alternative funding sources. I do not believe that it should be through companies, as I said, that stand to lose or gain.
But Larry Taylor isn't concerned about the bureaucracy of research or the difference between a complaint and scientific proof. All he understands is that his problem went away when he stopped drinking NutraSweet.
They'll never convince me that that's not wasn't wrong with me. I don't regret anything I've done. I feel like we would like to get the word out even more if we could.
If someone thinks they have an adverse reaction to any product, they shouldn't use it. I think that's realistic. But to worry about a product that has withstood this type of testing over a period of 13 years, I don't know what else one can do to prove that the product is safe.
Coming up, early menopause. It affects millions of women physically and emotionally. Stop! Also, Susan, stop the insanity powder.
It's another one of those medical myths that you have to be in your 50s to go through menopause. Today, some women are experiencing it in their 40s, some even in their 30s. That's why younger women and their doctors need to know how to recognize and deal with menopause.
Tanya Straker-Yepsen is 43, fit and happy. She works out 3 times a week and has a job that she loves. But 3 years ago, she wasn't feeling good.
This was not a crisis, but this was just a downward trend in my whole happiness and well-being that I could not get a handle on, that I couldn't seem to get someone to help me with.
Tanya is talking about hot flashes and headaches, night sweats and insomnia. She knew back then that these were symptoms of menopause, but because of her age it made no sense. Still, she made an appointment to see her doctor.
When I told him about my symptoms, and he told me that I was too young to be going through menopause and put his hand on my shoulder and said, T, I wish all the women I see who are 40 years old are as happy and healthy as you are. I burst into tears.
Not willing to be dismissed, she went looking for a physician who would listen and had her fears confirmed. As 15 million other American women, she did in fact have early onset menopause, putting to rest one of the many menopause myths that it can't happen till you're 50.
The biggest myth is that the menopause is a sudden crisis in their lives, or that at the time of the menopause everything's going to fall apart, or that menopause means now I'm old.
Menopause literally means the last period, and usually refers to the time in a woman's life when her body slows down the manufacture of the hormones associated with reproduction. It's distressing for most women, not only because of how it can make them feel physically, but because of what it stands for emotionally.
We're a youth-oriented society, and in a youth-oriented society, there's nothing really glamorous about getting older. Menopause comes along as a message and says you're older.
Finding a support group can help deal with the anxiety that comes with menopause, early or otherwise. Some of the anxiety relates to a controversial treatment, taking hormones to relieve some of the symptoms.
Many women come in totally confused about hormones. They've got one friend who's on it and doing great, and they've got another friend who's on it and not doing great, and they've got another friend who developed breast cancer, and they've got all kinds of mixed feelings as they come in and start discussing it.
Some studies have linked hormone therapy with uterine cancer, so many women are skeptical and scared.
I have a close friend that just had cancer, and she told me not to go on the estrogen, just to take the vitamin E like she's taking.
Going into all the estrogen, it frightens me. I really feel exercise, and diet. I don't believe in all the other things.
The safety of these hormones, the benefits of these hormones, the health benefits of these hormones continues to come to light.
Tanya and her doctor developed a hormone therapy together, one they feel comfortable with and one that seems to be working. Although the hormones are helping, it's easy to feel that early menopause is just unfair.
I find it hard to believe that when we're at our most productive and when we have the most to offer and we've kind of paid our dues and we're at our best, it's almost like someone decides, let's give them one more big fat hurdle to jump before they get into old age. Let's just see if this will do them in.
Helping us all stay healthy is our Life Choices fitness expert, Steve Haynes in San Diego.
I know how birthdays can make you feel, especially when you reach that age. The sore muscles take a whole lot longer to heal. It's easy enough to talk yourself out of exercising as it is. But here's something to remember. Don't underestimate yourself. That's especially true when it comes to running. No matter how old you are, running is one of the best exercises for staying fit. You burn more calories and body fat jogging than walking. And that's important when you're trying to squeeze a workout into a tight schedule. Start a running program with the Jog to a Doctor. A recent poll found that 3 out of 4 patients never ask their doctor about exercise. Don't make that mistake. Your checkup for running should include an exercise electrocardiogram. This test may not be foolproof, but it is the best way to turn up any heart problems before beginning your exercise program. Next, buy the right shoes. Just because a sports star endorses a shoe doesn't mean it's any better. Find a shoe that supports the foot evenly, has lots of toe room, and a great shock-absorbing heel. Now that you've got the gear, let's get started. Make sure to warm up properly before stretching, because that's one of the easiest ways to injure yourself. Now, don't be overly ambitious in the beginning. If you're already walking, start with short 50-yard jogs. Walk a little, jog a little, then walk some more. Gradually build your program up to where you can run for 15 minutes, 3 times a week. And remember, speed isn't important. Take it easy at first. There'll be plenty of time later on for you to challenge yourself. Whew. If you stick with your running program, the benefits include more than just losing weight. In fact, many runners experience something they call a high. I just like to call it feeling good about yourself. And the more you do it, the better you feel. From San Diego, I'm Steve Haynes, reminding you to keep your focus on fitness.
Go TV channel surfing and you're bound to run across her high-energy infomercial. She's Susan Powter, exercise queen, philosopher, and although it might not look like it, her fans say she's a saleswoman of sanity. Here's Life Choices correspondent Lisa Arledge.
I want them to see me. Just see me. Look in the see me. This is me. I'm not doing this because the reporter's in the room and because there's a camera on me. This is me.
If you haven't ever seen Susan Powter,
are we having fun? Wow!
Then you've probably been on another planet.
Stop the insanity! Here she is, Susan Powter.
She's the star of a radical infomercial, had a regular spot on the Home Show, a book on the bestseller list, and she travels the country, preaching her low-fat, high-volume eating gospel to millions of followers. She's the hottest and perhaps most controversial fitness guru. No hair, no body fat, and no inhibitions.
Have you ever noticed that any time a woman has an opinion, she is a male-bashing, angry bitch? Have you ever noticed that?
She's been called that and more, but she says her critics are confusing one emotion with another.
You can't read my book and close the last page and say she's angry. You can't do it. Because I'm not.
If you're not angry, what are you?
Passionate. So passionate about this message.
And she has a message, an important one, that women can control their own lives. And she gets it across with a vengeance.
Look at my hair!
With her bleach blonde crew cut and a stage show that's part stand-up comedy, part rock and roll, Susan insists that it's no accident that women have trouble getting and staying thin. She says they're being lied to by the diet, fitness, and food industries. Do you really have to starve yourself? And how light is light anyway?
Jimmy Dean is telling me right here that this is light sausage, 80% fat-free. Jimmy! Jimmy!
I am not a doctor. I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist. I'm a housewife that figured it out. You don't need medical training to understand high-volume, low-fat food. I'm not saying anything anybody else isn't saying. Maybe the reason it's reaching people is because, number one, I have been there.
And part of her pitch includes her amazing personal weight loss story that began 7 years ago in Garland, Texas.
Everybody's got a story. Mine was the breakup of a marriage.
Nick and I got married, and we shouldn't have.
So he left. Okay, he left. Let's not bash him too badly yet. He walked out. So what did I do? I ate tons of high-fat food.
Susan ate and ate until she ballooned to 260 pounds. During her Stop the Insanity seminar, she parades around with before and after reminders showing how she lost 133 pounds.
Could you die?
But it's not only her weight problems that people relate to, it's her marital problems as well.
I ate, I cried, I nursed babies, and I planned his death.
I don't ever bash Nick, and Nick knows that. I tell the truth. He did leave the marriage. He did have an affair. I was angry. I was hurt. That's not saying Nick is a bad person. I've never said Nick was a bad person. I have said I was hurt and I was angry and it made me nuts. It did.
Let me tell you what makes you fat.
There's something about Susan's story and her attitude towards men that strikes a chord in millions of women. Women who've tried it all and are fed up with get-thin promises that don't work. Susan says her plan does work because it's not a diet. On the powder program, you'll never count another calorie again. All you have to do is exercise faithfully, and you can eat virtually all the low-fat foods you want. But the trick is you must cut the amount of fat in your diet to below 30%.
You want to know how much I eat now? I eat 3,500 to 5,000 calories a day. I am a size 2.
We asked an expert from the American Dietetic Association to review Susan's advice. And while she agreed with the idea of a high-volume, low-fat diet, she says that Susan's program could be misleading because of a basic rule. The more you eat, the more you have to exercise.
Her implication is that you can eat as much fat-free or low-fat food as you want and still lose weight. But you can't eat 20 baked potatoes and 10 cups of pasta and a lot of foods like that and still lose weight if your calorie intake is greater than your calorie output.
What I say to anybody who criticizes it is, why aren't you thrilled that millions of people are getting lean, strong, and healthy and doing it correctly? Why doesn't that thrill you? Why aren't you happy that women are losing dress sizes and they're not starving?
Everything with Susan Powder's name on it is making money these days. She insists she's never compromised her own beliefs in the interest of sales, but she's the first to admit that she's had a little help on her image, plastic surgery to pin back an ear, and a tummy tuck. Defensive? Not Susan.
Oh, well, then it was a tummy tuck that took off 133 pounds. No, it wasn't. My stomach was flat and solid as a rock before I had it. Then it was that ear that you did that built the lean muscle mass. No, it wasn't.
Hey, it's a television camera. How unusual. Hello!
Being in the unblinking public eye doesn't leave much time for soul searching. Besides, in the always fast-paced and often short-lived world of fitness and infomercials, you just have to keep moving.
We're out of here!
Yes, it's busy. Yes, it's demanding. Yes, I meet some lucky people, and yes, I meet some fabulous people.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
I am happier now than I've ever been in my life. I am more peaceful now than I've ever been in my life. And I am more committed now than I've ever been in my life. Yeah. I mean, look, who wouldn't be?
We'll have more of Life Choices right after You Make the Choice.
Oranges are high in vitamin C, but which of these fruits and vegetables contains more vitamin C than an orange? Red peppers, a banana, cooked peas. You make the choice. The answer when Life Choices continues. So which of these contains more vitamin C than an orange?
It's the chopped red pepper that has the most vitamin C. It adds color to your dish and 158% of your requirement for vitamin C. Other high vitamin C foods include oranges, grapefruit, kiwi, and cantaloupe.
Next week on Life Choices, did you ever wonder what executives at cigarette companies really say about smoking and health? Find out next week. You won't believe it. I'm Kathleen Sullivan.
And I'm Erie Chapman. Remember, life is choices, so choose well.
If you would like to write us here at Life Choices, our address is P.O. Box 555, Columbus, Ohio, 43216. For a transcript of today's program, send $5 to Life Choices, P.O. Box 7, Livingston, New Jersey, 07039.
Welcome to a special edition of Life Choices. We have two themes running through our special program today. First, we're celebrating 8 great years of Life Choices. We'll do that by honoring some of the incredible people that you've met on our show with a very special award. Secondly, we're going to take this opportunity to look back, reflect on our history, and finally, but sadly, say goodbye. Saying goodbye would be a lot harder if we hadn't seen the powerful impact that good life choices can make in people's lives. We've brought you hundreds of those inspiring personal stories over the years, and today we present you with some of the most compelling. The nominees for our first annual Life Choices Education Fund Award.
It's all right, it's fine, you're fine.
Over the years, Catherine White has taken care of 300 babies, all addicted to crack cocaine. In her hometown of Cleveland, she is known as Mother White because she is the only mother many of these babies will ever know.
I had to give them myself, you know, all of myself. I get in my rocking chair and I rock them, and I can see them coming out of that. You can see them being nice and calm, you know, coming on out of it. They know I care.
In Miami, Dr. Joe Greer takes his young medical students on unique house calls to the homeless. He offers a lesson in human kindness, caring, and compassion that students just don't get in the classroom. Dr. Greer wants future doctors to experience each patient as a human being, no matter how poor.
About 72 pounds of mixed vegetables, 200 hamburgers, and we did 225 turkey franks.
Carol and Hurt Porter are making lunch for kids in Houston who would otherwise do without. Surviving on donations, they run a program called Kid Care. The Porters deliver 800 meals a day, and Kid Care is the nation's first Meals on Wheels program for children. In New York City, David Bresnik is waging a one-man war against smoking.
They won't stop me. They'll never stop me.
He plasters anti-smoking stickers on any advertisement within reach. Bresnik lost his natural voice to throat cancer and now must use an electronic device to speak. He's choosing to spend much of his time in classrooms, telling young people what smoking did to him.
I see pictures of me at 621 pounds. I have no recollection of being that or desiring to be that ever again.
Diana Rosenfeld chose to change her life in order to save her life. Over 3 years, she lost more than 425 pounds while under close medical supervision. Since some of her loss was in excess skin, Diana donated it to help with skin grafting research.
What are you doing?
Enter the world of the Eckfeld family and you're surrounded by love. Tom and Linda Eckfeld have adopted 8 children, each with special medical needs, ranging from brain damage to severe cerebral palsy. All these babies would have been destined for an institution. Instead, the Eckfeld stepped in, gave them a home and hope.
We will never tell our children, you can't, or it won't happen, because we don't know. There's no hopeless situation.
Even on the Florida beaches, Diane McGowan has her good days and her bad days. She has Alzheimer's disease. But before this disease gets the best of her, she is fighting back by writing a book. She's the first patient ever to chronicle the journey through the tortured world of Alzheimer's.
I want to feel that no matter what happens to me, I will have made a difference.
And now to our first winner, a person who embodies the same selflessness and healing spirit shared by all of our nominees. Now I want you to meet Dr. Henry Viscardi.
I was born without legs, with little twisted stumps that were wrapped across my abdomen of a poor family in the city of New York. And I spent the first 6 or 7 years of my life in one hospital where they did surgery to try to straighten out these crooked little stumps so that at least I could stand on them. And I didn't receive these artificial limbs that I walk on today until I was 27 years old.
During those first 27 years, the young Henry Viscardi endured the humiliation that was unfortunately par for a child born with such disabilities during the 1920s and 30s. He walked to school on his makeshift pads, fighting for the education denied most young people with disabilities like his because they were left homebound. Then came World War II and choices that would change the rest of his life.
It was a traumatic experience being a field officer in the American Red Cross in World War II. Here I met all these beautiful young men coming back so maimed and so crippled, so destroyed. It affected me deeply, and I thought for a while, I've made my sacrifice. When the war was over, I came back and decided I wasn't going to work with disabled people anymore. And I decided to turn my back on it, but it wasn't that easy. They kept coming back. They weren't finding jobs, pensions, parades, but not work.
It was 1952 when Dr. Viscardi launched an experiment in his own backyard, in a garage to be exact. To support the growing defense industry on Long Island, he hired disabled people to work in his new mechanic shop, Abilities Incorporated, as it was known. It proved to be a successful business venture, and Dr. Viscardi set his sights on righting some of the wrongs he'd faced growing up. He helped build the first and only school of its kind, a tuition-free school dedicated to the needs of disabled children.
In a way, he's like second father. I can't believe a man would go through all of his trouble, through his problems, through everything, just to make a school just for us.
Nobody was a witch for Halloween.
He roams the hallways with the wisdom of a mentor and the spirit of a student.
I can never go into that school any day, but I don't see myself as I was as a crippled boy. In each child, I see myself. I've influenced a lot of destinies, and I rather think that the destiny that the Lord gave me makes me not only content but privileged to have lived the life I've lived.
When we come back, you're going to meet the remarkable young woman who shares the title of Life Choices Award winner. But first, this look back in Life Choices history. Right now, you're watching the pilot taping of the very first Life Choices television program back in 1987. It happened in the auditorium at Riverside Methodist Hospitals in Columbus. Boy, was that an experience. We planned the live audience and the guests, but we had no idea that we'd get construction noises and that right in the middle of the taping, the fire alarm would go off. Before we introduce you to our second award winner, we wanted to share these pictures. They come from a story we did back in 1991 about a young man choosing to recover from his drug addiction at a Buddhist monastery in upstate New York. We know that all life's journeys have a beginning and an end, but it's the in-between parts that are often the most interesting. Since we're at the end of our journey with you today, reporter Lisa Arledge looks back on where Life Choices has been and how far we've come.
It all began in 1987. Back then, Life Choices unfolded in talk show style.
This is an illustration of one of the most serious problems facing America today.
Our guests included people sharing their difficult choices about those issues and healthcare professionals from Riverside Methodist Hospitals in Columbus, Ohio. In our second season, we debut a new logo, a new set, and get more involved in the stories of our subjects' life choices as we follow them through their life changes.
Acts of Caring will continue.
The highlight of our second season was Acts of Caring, an hour-long primetime tribute to the dedicated nurses who have chosen a profession making them the lifeblood of every hospital.
Mary Ann proudly holds up baby Thomas, age 1 minute.
By our third season, we're reaching thousands of viewers far outside our home base in Ohio. This year, we make the switch to a magazine show format.
Today, we have the story of one of those relationships and the wonderful program that made it possible.
Also in our third season, we added a special news segment giving you the latest health information to make better life choices.
If you don't wear your seatbelt and you're in an accident, you're 3 times more likely to be hospitalized.
New additions in our fourth season include updates on the people you'd met in previous shows.
Her choices to begin a doctor-supervised, low-calorie liquid diet plan and exercise have really paid off. This is Pam Today.
This was also the season when we began taking our show on the road.
As we walked around his beautiful home, Art shared with me these words. When you're going through a time of tragedy, just remember, things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out.
We enter our fifth season as an Emmy Award-winning program seen on television stations from coast to coast. Our cameras traveled to the cities where our viewers lived, bringing you the stories of the life-changing choices people were making across this country.
Our next story comes to us from our Boston Bureau.
Also this year, we debut You Make the Choice, our most popular interactive feature.
You're watching how much fat and cholesterol is on your dinner plate. Of these meats, what's your best pick?
In our sixth season, renowned anchorwoman Kathleen Sullivan joined our team of correspondents.
Thanks, Erie. I'm Kathleen Sullivan in New York with the National Health Report.
We added coverage of international health issues as our crews traveled on a life-saving mission of mercy to Lithuania.
Did he have a big hole in his heart? Big hole between the chamber.
And then to the former Soviet Union.
And those choices are the issue. 95% of Russian women have no access to birth control.
Last year, we welcomed Kathleen Sullivan as a co-host and built upon all the viewer input we'd received over the previous years. By redesigning life choices, we put more emphasis on each individual story and touched on the topics that were most important in your lives.
Next time here on Life Choices, we'll show you how to make a withdrawal from a very special kind of bank.
In this, our eighth season, Robin Young joined America's Health Team as a co-host. And as correspondent Jennifer Laird demonstrates, we always mix good health with a good time.
Second opinion on his hips, and occasionally, ow!
Well, the common thread running through our program throughout these 8 years has been the power of individual choice. The young woman you're about to meet is such an incredible example of that commitment that we've chosen her to share in the special Life Choices Award.
Her dream has come true. Going to school for the first time in her life is a great awakening for Charlotte Harsh. The spinal tumor that has paralyzed Charlotte's hands and feet, kept her lungs from breathing and her eyes from seeing, cannot stop her from learning. With the help of nurses, she's up and rolling to her specially equipped school bus. Charlotte lives at Northland Terrace, a Columbus, Ohio nursing home. Until recently, her only schooling was 1 hour a day of private tutoring. Nursing home administrators saw that some of their young, severely handicapped residents were capable of going to school but were held back by laws and educators' fears.
These children do, in fact, have enormous rights, and they have a right to be educated in the least restrictive environment.
Sharon Reynolds and her staff worked with state and federal lawmakers to find medical assistance for educating severely handicapped students. There is a law that provides assistance, but public school officials didn't believe quadriplegic students who depend on ventilators could safely attend classes with other high school students. But Charlotte's advocates won. Now, with a nurse by her side, she is going to classes 6 hours a day.
It feels good to be with other kids my age, learn with them.
Charlotte is doing her homework and then some. Not only is she making good grades, in her first year of school, she won a seat on student council and she's on the school newspaper staff.
The Roman of the Queen was the best.
I don't know, it just makes me feel good. I can create something. It's a way to express yourself.
As Charlotte ends another school day, she settles back in her room beneath a poster from her student council campaign. Her slogan says it all about this young woman's inspiring attitude.
I like challenges, and I like adventure. And you don't know unless you try.
We wanted you to know that complications from her illness have forced Charlotte out of school before she could graduate. She's now in a nursing home in Springfield, Ohio. As a Life Choices Education Fund Award winner, Charlotte will share a $3,000 cash prize with our co-winner, Dr. Henry Viscardi. At 84, Dr. Viscardi is still inspiring students at the National Center in Albertson, New York. And we'll be right back after this look at one of our favorite Life Choices moments.
Watch Life Choices with Eric Chapman this Sunday. I said Eric, didn't I?
Watch Erie Chapman on Life.
Please watch Life Choices with Erie Chapman.
Erie, that's a name or a feeling?
Make the choice, watch Life Choices. Make the choice, watch Life Choices.
Remember, Erie Chapman, Life Choices, next week.
Watch Life Choices with Erie Chapman this Sunday.
As we mentioned earlier, today's program is our last. For 8 years, all of the many people involved in this show have done their best to bring you the best. Information to help you make better life choices. Stories of people choosing to face the toughest challenges life can bring. Cancer, AIDS, heart disease, paralysis, depression, violence, abuse, and then, in most cases, healing. Stories of people like Dr. Henry Viscardi and Charlotte Harsh, who you met earlier today, and people like my own sister Martha, a person whose body will never grow much past 4 feet, but whose spirit is taller than anyone I've ever met. I want to thank my biggest fans, my father, who helped inspire this program, and my mother, my wife Kirsten, and our children Tyler and Tia. I also want to thank U.S. Health Corporation and its chairman, Jerry Mayo, Dr. Nick Baird, Riverside Methodist Hospitals, and Grant Medical Center. They are the major underwriters of this program. They recognized something of deep importance, that half of the American population gets all of its information from television. I thank them for supporting through Life Choices 3 fundamental ideas. First, the idea that a nonprofit hospital's mission is not only to treat your illness, but help you prevent illness. Second, the idea that we should not simply provide health care, but promote health. And third, the idea that as a faith-based, value-driven organization, U.S. Health and its hospitals should do something no hospital has ever done before: support a unique television program and broadcast it around the world, not to make money, but as a public service to you. In other words, the money to support this program was never lost. It couldn't be, because it was invested in you and your health. If all of us would focus more on health, fewer of us would suffer in illness. Reliable health information helps us understand choices. Inspiration gives us the power and the motivation to do something fundamental to true health: recognize the power of taking charge of our lives. All of us may not be physically healthy. Most of us do have the power to choose our own pathway to healing. You know, amidst the flood of words coming at us from so many different directions, most of all from television, it's probably not surprising that we become confused about what's actually important. Former American President Calvin Coolidge was called Silent Cal because he spoke so few words. Once a news reporter begged him to please say at least 3 words. His response: "You lose." For years now, I've ended each Life Choices show with 5 words, which I hope will bring you strength each day from this moment forward. Here are the 5 words: Life is choices. Choose well. Today, I've decided to end our last program by borrowing the text of President Calvin Coolidge's most famous speech. Here is the whole speech in its entirety. Goodbye.
It's so important to make someone happy. Make just one someone happy. Make just one heart-to-heart you. You sing to one smile that cheers you, one face that lights when it nears you, one girl you're everything to. Fame, if you win it, comes and goes in a minute. Where's the real stuff in life to cling to? Love is the answer. Someone to love is the answer. Once you've found her, build your world around her. Make someone happy. Make just one someone happy, and you will be happy too.